Thursday, December the 13th of 2018. It's now 6 o'clock and we will do our Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Present.
Director Gibson.
Here.
Director Nyman.
Here.
Director Schoenberg.
Here.
And Director Kelling is here. Okay, swearing in of the elected board members.
So I'll just go in order. Here is Becky's, and Becky, if you want to stand. Can I make you stand?
Oh, sorry.
And I guess you raise your right hand. I, Rebecca Gibson,
I, Rebecca Gibson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and that I
will well
will well
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties upon
the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
which I am about to enter.
And you can sign and dates.
Nice. Thank you.
So let's see, date and then sign. And then signature right there.
Oh, sorry.
You're fine. Oh, that's a date. That works. Okay, thank you. Terry, I'll do yours.
Okay.
Raise your right hand. I, Terry Kelling,
I, Terry Kelly,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of
and
California
the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic.
that I will bear true faith
I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California.
that I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon
Which I am about to enter.
which I am about to enter.
That's it. Perfect.
Okay.
And oddly enough, yours and yours were different. I don't know why. It's just the paper. So signature and dates.
Are they different because of the positions?
I think it's different because hers says elected and theirs are appointed.
Oh, makes sense. Yeah.
Because the Board of Supervisors appointed them in lieu of election, and she was
That's why
elected.
we're running unopposed.
Yeah.
Okay. One more.
I always think that's weird that they don't put, because they put some of the other positions on the ballot and just not put there's not a second person running, but.
Yeah, it is weird.
Okay, final one. Raise your right hand. I, Lisa Schoenberg,
I, Lisa Schoenberg,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon about to enter.
Go. Signature
It doesn't say the
and
United States of America, it just says the United States.
Somebody's
and
following.
then you want me to do bottom left is the date.
On the other side, Lisa.
Where? Oh, isn't that you though?
No, that's the date.
It says
Subscribed
and
and
sworn
sworn
before me.
this 13th day of December 2018. Because I sign right here.
Oh, I thought you were supposed to sign that. That's right. Okay, got it.
I don't know, Marty.
Sorry.
No,
I
you're
always
fine.
have to pick everything apart. It's just who I am.
Okay. Do we need to adjust the agenda? Is there anything we need to move?
Not to my knowledge.
I got nothing.
Anyone else?
No, I think we're
Agenda is good. Okay, public comments. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Any public, please stand.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Bernadette Saba. I spoke to you on the phone the other day, and I just wanted to clarify some of the things we discussed. I have never worked with a public utility before, so I don't know where it changes from a regular utility company where I just pay them and I'm not responsible for anything and I don't have any rights. So that being the case, I would like to know if there is a list available that tells me what my rights are and what my responsibilities are for this water company. The price of a pipe of $15 million.
I think you're taking all of it out of context. You're not responsible for any of that. You're responsible to pay your water bill.
Right.
And then with that water bill money, we try to keep safe and clean water flowing through the pipes. It's not your personal responsibility. It's all of our responsibility
Right,
to try
together.
together
To work out the situation.
well, to manage the system, because at no point in time are you without maintenance issues in a public utility.
Right, but, yes,
I was gonna say, as a resident of Fraser Park, you actually, when you, I don't know if you're a renter or an owner. If you're an owner,
I'm a renter.
okay, so as a renter, you have far less things that you're actually doing, because as an owner, when you purchase the actual property, if the property has a water service already, you're buying into the system. If the property doesn't already have a water service, you're paying a standby because you're not buying into the system, so you pay a nominal fee every year to be a part of the system, even though you haven't actually bought in by purchasing the meter and all of the connection basically for the system. As a renter, your owner has done all that, and then you're responsible. If the owner allows you to do that, you're responsible for paying the bill. Some owners pay the bills.
Like, I'm paying the bill at my house.
But you are a part of the system even as a renter. So as a renter, even though you haven't bought into the system, you still have a legal right to vote on. So if we're going to do a proposition to increase water rate, you have a right to vote or to, you know, to both do a majority protest of that decision and also to vote on that decision.
And I don't know if it was clear to people exactly what was happening on that vote as to how it was gonna be affecting them. Now, we're feeling the pain because the bills are high. And mine is relatively low and I'm feeling it. And I know people are getting $80, maybe even closer to $100 a month bills. They're hurting, you know, and it's just the fact that most of us are on fixed incomes, which makes it that much more difficult for us.
Unfortunately, the same handout that I sent out to everybody about the rate increase was the one that was published in Mountain Enterprise. It was passed out at the town hall meeting. It was talked about in this meeting multiple months in a row. So everybody knew exactly.
That there was a vote, but
No,
they didn't know,
no.
did they know how it was gonna
Everybody
be?
knew exactly what the rate increase was gonna be every year, for 5 years, what the dollar amount was gonna be for your monthly rate as well as your consumption rate. And that's, like I said, the same letter I sent you that you were talking about, that was what was published and spoken about all during those months of preparation leading up to that vote, so.
And they know it's only for 5 years.
Yeah, everybody was aware of all of that, so.
What I would like to discuss is that $15 million pipe
Okay,
price.
I told you when I mentioned that, that was, I said that is not a set in stone.
Okay,
What it is that when I asked the engineer just roughly what kind of grant we need to look at, he said you need more than one pipe per street. But if you give me a figure on how many miles of pipe you got, I'll give you a rough estimate. At the
for
time,
everything, not just one pipe. The 15
one
million
pipe
was,
per street
Right.
with appurtenances, with
Okay.
the hydrant.
but
And
it's
that-
for the entire town, not just one pipe, because that's what everybody's saying. What do you mean 15 million for one pipe? Okay, because the other question was, have you looked at alternative materials?
We're looking at, well, for one thing, the alternative materials are not AWWA approved, and they are not approved by any entity that's gonna grant us money.
Okay, but here's the
So
reason
what
why
I'm
I'm
saying-
asking this.
I understand that there's other, because I've had this conversation today with other people
Okay.
about your article.
Yeah, about I didn't mention anything though there in the article, but I have looked into, since the article was written, 2 materials. One is hemp-based plastic, the other one is bamboo. And that's both, now they just legalized hemp, industrial hemp. The people of this town could literally grow both of them for you for free. And that's where I'm coming in to try and help you see, is there a better alternative that's gonna cost everybody less money and everybody's willing to chip in because it'll be less of a bill for them? You know, this is where I wanna kind of
Well,
go.
the issue is there's just a multitude of reasons why that can't work just by
You
doing.
can take a plant.
Bamboo and hemp, which is legal.
And how do you turn it into a pipe? And how do you
Well,
get
the
this,
hemp-
everybody to
The
approve that?
hemp is what you would have to repurpose into the pipe. The
So the-
bamboo could be literally be used.
Have you seen the size of
as
pipes that we use?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I had called in because there's an exposed pipe on right in front of my house.
Okay, well, would you like to see our average pipe?
Yeah, because that makes a difference.
It's much larger than that.
Much.
No. Again, no, I didn't see today.
Talked about that, but we always
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I mean, if there's a way that we can find materials that we can help with
You'd
growing.
be growing bamboo for
Literally.
years to try to
No,
get
it
close
takes
to
3
the,
months, 3
not
months.
for the
and it's
diameter of the pipe that we
Start
need.
growing.
Well, that's what we need to see. What sizes do we need?
This is from the last one we pulled out. This isn't even the largest that we have, so.
Okay,
To my knowledge, I've never seen bamboo grow anywhere near that size.
I bet you could.
But anyway, we need viable solutions and.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm trying to give you viable solutions, seriously, but if the 15 million is for the entire town.
No, it's not. I can't stress that enough. I said, you need multiple pipes in every street.
5
If
minutes
we were
yet?
to just do one pipe, in every street in this town.
President?
At the time, a couple years ago, it would have been $12 to $15 million rough. I would say that you could quadruple that for what it costs to replace everything in this town, but that's never gonna happen. We gotta do it as they fail, or as we get grant money.
And you said the grants take years, so that's, you know, that's not.
Exactly,
anything
that's why
really-
it costs so much to try to run the system, trying to keep it all
That's
afloat.
why we have to.
An agenda for January, February to
Okay,
continue
because,
this?
You know, because I would really like to work with you and have everybody, you know, work together instead of fighting each other and everybody's upset. So I
So,
think that
Tiffany,
that's
can you
gonna, you know.
make this a agenda item?
I think more knowledge, like you seeing this,
Right,
and coming to the meetings is gonna help, because
And then-
everybody that
right.
is talking out there, this is the biggest meeting of, and half the people here have a purpose here.
Right.
Yes.
There's one of you,
One Joe Public here.
and there's probably 300 people talking about it.
Right, and that's why I'm trying
Joe.
to like be the go-between you, if
Yeah.
nothing else.
So, okay. We'll figure out at the end of the meeting, January, February, yes.
I just wanted to state too, because this comes up over and over again, the difference between being a public utility district and maybe a very small private district somewhere is that we're required by law to be extremely transparent. We're required, when we do a Prop 218, we have to do town halls, we have to put it in the paper, we have to put out information packets to every single customer, whether they live here or not. So, you know, all that information gets out there. The problem is that we don't have a lot of participation.
Right.
So,
Which is where I'm trying to come
Right.
in, to make it, because on Saturday, we are actually filling out protest forms, just because it's such a hardship on everybody. And, I came here because I want to be able to tell them what I learned today in the meeting, to try and, you know, pass
Okay.
information, see what we can do to work together. If you don't mind, can I take a picture of this pipe so that?
Oh, go ahead.
And is there any other public comments?
I would like to make one more comment. We do have, on our website, we have all of the previous meetings, and you will see that we have discussed the hardship, that some of us are on fixed income. We definitely understand the hardship,
Right.
so we just want you to understand that some of us understand that very well.
Right.
Unfortunately, we haven't found some viable solutions yet.
Which is what I'm working on.
I want to point out
Because
just one more quick thing. I know that we're carrying over, but the time to protest, I mean, you can
I
protest
know, you said
anytime.
was before.
Was
Right.
before, but the same topic came up, and some others with the grand jury. I believe it was last year or the year before. They regulate us. The Kern County Grand Jury is who oversees us. They came out, they did a third correct. The only thing we weren't doing correct was saluting the flag,
Pledge of
the
Allegiance.
Pledge of Allegiance. That's the only critique they had. In their
And we needed to
report.
keep
So-
to a 5-minute.
We let the public talk too long.
We let the public.
We're willing to
So we're
listen.
still violating it.
Thank you for coming though.
Yes.
Bring your friends with you.
I thought some were coming. But I
Okay.
gotta go, there's a football game on.
Report of,
You don't want to stay to hear the
Oh,
rest
I
of the
gotta
business?
see Patrick Mahomes, I'm sorry, I missed the LA.
Okay.
okay, well, thank you for coming.
Thank
Um, Report of officer. Oh,
No,
you
I'm
have-
just astonished.
Thank you.
Okay. Report of officers. President, I have none. Vice President?
No.
Secretary?
My reports will be in the ad hoc
Okay.
report.
Treasurer?
I put in all the payments to the reserve accounts and to the replacement fund. And I also put them all the way out through October this year. So I'll have to get with Linda when she gets the stuff from the state to make sure that everything is, she says they're right, but we'll have to double check. So if I have to make any changes, I will. Also, I transferred when was that? The capital replacement to the operating fund for all the telemetry. And I did each individual transfer for each individual item that was listed, so,
Capital replacement?
or, well, to, I have it right here, hold on. Somewhere I have it. No, we took it out of I'm not sure. I don't have it in front of me, but I
Well,
took it out of, we
the right
talked
one.
about.
We did that together.
We did that together. I mean, I took it out of I think
right
it was
fund.
the replacement
The
fund.
replacement fund.
It came out of the replacement fund
USDA replacement
into
fund.
the operating fund to reimburse, because we had authorization from the state to do that.
Forest
So,
Service, or I mean, USDA.
From the
USDA.
Federal
feds.
government.
yeah. And that's the end of my report.
Okay. Thank you. Member at large.
Negative.
Board member initiatives. Nothing? Okay. Managers report.
Okay.
I don't want to grow any hemp.
All right. Guys had a real busy month. They accomplished 195 work orders. We only had one after hours call out. On the manager's report, it shows the water sold, and it says after correction. You'll notice, and it doesn't have a differential number. That's because when I went to do my report, there had been overread meter by accident, and then when that meter, it doesn't correct it that month on this report, so I added the water back into water sold. And then next month I'll have a total on all that stuff, so it was just a clerical thing. I've been reaching out to all the politicians that I'm trying to get some kind of subsidies or some type of help for low-income people. I've sent emails to a long list of people, everybody from Zach Scrivener up to Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy's office, apparently, I didn't know it, they have office hours here and in Pine Mountain once a month.
Yep.
So a couple of his representatives, a couple people from the office were going to come here. I had an appointment with them to come and talk about that, except for it was the day that it snowed. So I recommended that they not try it because they were still at the point where they weren't doing anything. So we're going to reschedule that and get back to that. So that's going to be nice to at least hear what they have to say about it.
Well, I'd be interested in hearing.
Yeah, I'll let you know when they're going to be here. Yeah, absolutely.
If I'm available.
Yeah, the other thing is, we've had so many people upset, and 90% of the time it's unfounded, but everybody's so upset that our front desk has been getting verbally abused daily.
Due to?
Last week or the week before, had a guy come in and pay the bill, and Cassandra had figured out that he had urinated on it before he handed it to her. And then he went out to his car and he laughed about it. And I went out and I approached him, and he denied it, of course. And when I turned away and walked away, I checked the cameras, and he was laughing with the girl sitting next to him in the car. We have people. I came in yesterday today, and there was a guy screaming at her and calling her a liar about the financials and stuff. So I had to calm him down and show him on the website where he could get all that financial information. So it got to a point where I feel like we need to add audio recording to the camera out there. So I emailed Ernest today to get his opinion on that. He said absolutely we can, because there's no expectation of privacy in the front lobby area of the business as long as we clearly put signage up saying that we're doing it. So I need to get that added, so when people are coming in yelling and screaming, we have some type of proof of what they're saying, and any threats that are made, because it's continual like that. I'm also going to ramp up the customer service for dealing with problem people like that, not only with Cassandra, but with Tiffany and the field crew and myself, because I don't feel like it's going to get better real soon, and everybody needs to know how to cope with it a little bit better instead of getting so nervous, because it really upsets the front desk immensely. She's, like anybody, especially when she's in the office by herself. So now the issue has gotten to the point where I'm trying to either make sure Tiffany's in the office, and I'm in the office more. And then like today, when I had to go down to Bakersfield, I had the guys come in and do some training stuff because Tiffany had to leave at 2. So I had the crew training, and it's just an unfortunate.
There's always someone there with it.
Yeah, trying to keep it so they're there. She has the button that she could push, but she doesn't know when she should push the button. It's going to call the police. She doesn't want to make it a big deal, cause, you know, it's just unfortunate. So anyway, so I'm gonna set it up with audio and try to do some other stuff to try to, you know, make her feel a little more comfortable, with the whole situation. Of course, they couldn't do anything about the bill with urine on it. The police, you know, wanted to and tried to find the guy to talk to him, but he said, of course, they're not gonna send it to the lab to prove it, and there's no way, you know, nobody's seen him do it. You know, the smell and the appearance isn't enough to really do anything, but it's one of the grossest things that I've ever seen, you know.
So does Cassandra now need gloves?
No, but she does need to be, she does have gloves, and typically, like when she's opening mail or something, she knows she can use them, but, or when she's counting a large amount of money, but when you're doing customer service for people walking in the door, it's never become an issue, and normally you don't have to have that. Even angry people generally don't do low-class things like that. So anyway, moving on from that, I'm getting a quote right now from Ness, because Edison is going to change their peak hours from 4 to 9 is what they're thinking right now. So they're going to change their peak hours of when it's going to cost the most, and it could raise the rates substantially. But I talked to Ness about adding to the telemetry to control what times that we run our pumps in our wells, and he says that we could see a substantial savings when we do that. So I'm actively working on that, gonna get the quote, and then I'll bring it to you guys so you can see what we're doing, and start to schedule it where, you know, sometimes in the summer months we would have to run into that peak of time anyway, because they gotta run so much they can't keep up, but in general we'll be able to save some money. So that's the next big thing that I got.
Tony, is that 4 to 9 p.m. or 8?
4 to 9 p.m. is going to be the peak hours of when we don't want to use it. So, which also happens to be the times of peak
Thank you,
usage.
Patrick.
Of peak usage, because that's when everybody's getting home from school, getting home from work, taking their showers, doing their dishes, all that stuff. So it makes it a little more difficult on us. And I think that's it.
Okay.
Oh no, I did add that. All right, never mind.
Yeah, you did the local.
Yeah.
Okay. Administrative assistant?
Let me see. Okay, I wanted to remind you and ask a question. So starting next month, the board's ethics and sexual harassment training is gonna come due again. You have to do that every 2 years. I wanted to ask, do you prefer a person to come in, or do you like to be able to go online and do it at your own time? Just seeing what you...
With all the water companies, I don't know if theirs or if they need to do the same thing. If they do, it was cheaper because we included.
We checked into that before.
Last time it was just Southwest, the health district that we
Somebody else.
invited.
We couldn't do it the last time. We went all the way down to that training, remember, at the Hilton?
Oh, it was because they're slightly different trainings for.
Yeah. We went to the Hilton and they turned us away and said that
It was the wrong training.
it was the wrong training for us as a public utility.
But the sexual harassment training is
Is
not
the
the
same.
same.
That's
as
probably
we
the
went to.
I would actually my personal.
Yeah, then you're on your own schedule, and whenever you have free time, you just hop on there. It's 2-hour courses on each.
We
It's just
did
if
it
there's
online.
questions that are like odd things that come up, that stuff can't really be addressed through online.
So because we're a public utility?
I'm okay to do it online.
There's a certain training that goes with mutuals and public utilities, from what I understand. I don't know the difference, but it requires slightly different, and we had it all set up, and they told us that it wouldn't cover us. We could have sat in on the training, but it wouldn't have done us any good for
Getting your
for
certificate.
fulfilling our duty, our obligation. So
Sharon, online's good with me.
Online's fine.
You get online? Okay. So I can get that set up.
Just give us the information and I'll get it
Send us the
done.
link.
and anybody that needs to use a computer can
Yeah, I'll have to come in.
obviously use the laptop or my desktop.
I think we probably all will, right? Didn't we have to do the sexual harassment training in here?
Yeah, you came
thought
in
we
and
did.
used the laptop.
Yeah.
But I don't think you have to.
I had some
Just-
issue
right.
with my, cause I have a Mac, it was doing weird stuff on it, but it ended up working.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you need help, we can help get you on a computer and
I need all the help I can get.
no worries. So 2019, next month comes new laws that we have to put in. Not too bad. The ones that we're really responsible for is there's new Brown Act requirements for our website that now become official January 2019. But thankfully, our online web hosting company, Streamline, already built that in. They've already made the changes. So if you go into our homepage, it now has a direct link to the agenda, which was one of the requirements. It couldn't be a sublink. It had to be right there, agenda. So that's already been set up and ready for January. Also, the agenda format changed. So it has to be searchable, indexable. It's a whole thing, but I've already got that. I started that at this meeting to make sure I could do it, and so it's fine. You won't notice the format change, but it makes it searchable online. And that was the
Nice.
requirement. Easy, that's all said and done. And now staff, employees, any company that has 5 or more employees, the employees now have to have sexual harassment training. So we're gonna get that all taken care of. So those were the big changes. And
Some of ours we
So
may be
may-
able to do on Target Solutions, which is the
yeah.
Aqua JPIA website that they provided, so they don't cost money. I think it meets the criteria, so.
Well, one of them was free, wasn't the sexual harassment one free? It was the other one that, no?
No, we did the RCAC for the ethics training. If you remember, they came in
Right.
and we had, I think, somebody from the school district and then maybe a couple from Lebec that did it with us with RCAC. Sexual harassment, we bought it online, and you just buy the credentials and then you guys went in and did it.
It was relatively
Wow.
cheap. though.
It wasn't expensive,
Yeah.
no. Those online courses are cheap, so. And the, just to update you on the transparency certification. So the final, when I got all the work done, the final application process, the whole application had to be reviewed by an outside entity and approved before I sent it in. So we have to have peer agencies. One of them was the general manager of Lebec, and she finished it. She went over the whole thing, said everything looked great, gave us her seal of approval. And then the last one I'm waiting for is the Mountain Enterprise has it. So then I can submit the application officially,
That's great.
and that's it.
Fantastic.
Thank you, you've been knocking it out. How hard was the searchable thing? Making the agenda searchable?
Not too bad. No, it was just, you can't scan it anymore on our scanner because when we scan PDFs, the PDFs are image PDFs and that's not searchable. So you have to go in and download it directly from your, whatever you use to create the document.
Yeah.
You download it directly into a text-based PDF and then
Perfect.
it works. Just gotta remember to do it that way and never scan.
Perfect.
Okay. Ad hoc committee, meeting of the local water companies and the Sigma. Again, Lisa chaired the meeting. Mostly we talked about emergency preparedness stuff again, and radio communications between water companies, and Krista got sat phones. We have radios, and Lebec has radios. Opinion Pines has radios.
What,
No,
Mill Petro.
Mill Petro has radios.
but are they,
Okay.
what frequencies are they? That's what we have to coordinate, because we got
Right.
a certain one frequency, because you have a license.
Yeah, do we have a license?
Yes.
Yeah, we have an FCC license for that frequency, so,
Okay, we didn't know if it was still in effect.
yeah, so we can't, program for another frequency.
Okay. And then,
With the, well, I mean, the
Okay.
issue with there were a lot of different things that came
Yeah.
up. One was Cal Warren, which we can get to in a minute, because Krista had a representative go to Cal Warren, but we didn't. I think no one else lived there. But the other stuff with the radios, in terms of us being able to talk to the other utilities in the event of an emergency, and it's not just having the radios or just having the license, because there's obviously, unless we go from company to company, we're not going to be able to talk from here to Krista or from Krista to Pine Mountain.
Yeah, because we can talk to Lebec.
Right.
I know that, I've proven it with my radio, but I can't get anywhere else.
Mel Potrero.
Yeah. Plus, is Mel Potrero part of Cal Warren? Because they're being No, see, so they can't really help us in that situation anyway. They help us out in a good neighbor way, but as far as Cal Warren, they're not gonna be able to help us anyway, so it ain't gonna matter.
Well, Cal Warren is a whole separate thing, and we were talking about it as a whole separate issue. So really, we were talking about the radios and communication as a good neighbor,
Yeah.
being able to contact one of the other companies, and if nobody else could get through because the roads are blocked and they couldn't, we could somehow get through, but for some reason you couldn't get through, way like on the freeway or.
Like when we had the mudslides or
Well,
something.
that's easy to rectify if everybody just got a ham radio with the big antenna. That you could
Business.
Huh?
It's a business.
You can't do it with a business?
Amateur radio will not allow businesses on.
Oh, well, there you go.
Right. So we've been
So-
talking about that a bit, and
So
we
sat
haven't
phones
really.
is the way to go.
And there were some questions like we had the gentleman from CERT from Pine
PMC.
Mountain Club came and talked a little bit and was saying that yes, sat phones are great for some stuff, but they're not going to be good for other things anyway, because you can't go necessarily, it may not work because we can't go like phone to radio if somebody has a radio and somebody doesn't go phone to phone. But it's
Oh, you would be able to then, but
yeah.
everybody would have to have the sat
If
phone.
there's no other issues going on, so I don't know. So we left it kind of with that we were going to get back to it, and that we needed more information.
Licensing is the way to go.
I talked to David Reiner.
Reiner. Yes.
He even kind of mitigated argument. He said there's already a stockpile in Fraser Park
Yeah.
and Lake of the Woods, and I don't know if he said Pine Mountain Club, but
Stockpile what?
Well, Pine Mountain Club has their
emergency
own.
supplies and stuff. And I guess I guess Fraser Park, it's the Connex where they do the commodities. There's always food in there for the commodities and stuff that would be used in an emergency situation. So I didn't realize that.
The pantry.
The pantry, yeah.
Yeah, the pantry.
I'm not sure if that would survive.
Stockpiles,
Right.
you know.
And they wouldn't have water.
No, they wouldn't have water. But
Buy it.
we would find it hard to stockpile enough water for that too if we couldn't have our water in the tank. So. And he told me that he can't even, as CERT, this is something I found out, I talked to him before about at a certain level of earthquake, if there's major damage that as water company guys, we know right off the bat. Community level, they would be able to do that, but not on a CERT level until they were dispatched, which means that you, in an extreme emergency, you gotta get a hold of somebody else who has to make the decision. He was just telling me this at the front counter, and then they have to dispatch them to do it. By that time, it's too late because our water's already gone out of our tank. So it's one of them things that has to just happen. Because in a big earthquake and the pipes rupture, we're only gonna have what water we have
In the tanks.
locked in the tank by the valve, and there's no automatic shutoffs for water tanks.
You and your crew have a plan for that?
Yeah, the nearest tank to your house is the initial move, and that would give us enough water to last us for several days of dispensing buckets, and then everything else we could get to is good. But if everybody closest to their house shuts off a tank, and board members obviously, but we need to get with the board members that live near tanks too, to show you where it's at, and
Absolutely.
everybody's gonna have to have a wrench, because some of them wrenches, some of them valves are so hard to shut off, it takes some might. Yeah. But yeah, so we've been working on
to
that.
get to the tanks that are by your house too,
That's true.
like McGee.
That's true.
I'd be hard pressed to get up there.
Well, luckily, you could actually drive your car right up there.
Yeah, not my car.
But you'd have to have a key to the gate.
Huh?
You'd have to have a key to the gate, but you could get your car up there. It's not steep. It's not bad. It's graded and everything. But anyway, so yeah, so we're working on that too.
So what I brought up that we have an emergency plan because we're mandated to have an emergency plan by California.
Yeah.
But so we were talking about the different emergency plans. I had some issues because Cal Warren has this whole idea, some of which I have real problems with, that all of the, like a community like this, if we're all part of Cal Warren, we would all have the map of our water company that we would give to Cal Warren, so that Cal Warren could have, and then there'd be like a representative. You can't have like every single person be a representative, so someone would have to be the representative. I talked about you because you are CERT, but you're only CERT 1, right? Are you part of CERT still?
No,
Or no?
he's not cert at all.
Oh, I
No,
thought
he
you
wants
were
me to
part
be.
of CERT.
He
Okay.
wants me to be, but
Okay, we had talked about it, but you never ended up doing it.
the only map I would give out,
And then so
according to Homeland Security, would be just an overview, like that map with no real details. You don't want, they explained to us when they came out and taught us about that you don't want your stuff outside of your district, because then people know how to introduce
Oh, yeah.
stuff into your system. It's too much information. They could have a overview, and obviously here's the tanks, and so does everybody else, including Lake of the Woods and Lebec. And to come up with one map that's going to suffice would be absurd.
Yeah, to me that's scarier than us trying to figure it out ourselves, because I think if somebody was responsible for trying to turn off something in an emergency, they may do exactly the wrong thing.
Besides, the way it works
Unless
is,
they know the system.
if Lebec needed help and I ran down there, I would know how to shut off a tank, but I wouldn't know where any valves are or anything else. If I'm familiar with the system, you have to know what valves work and what doesn't work. And I mean, if they really want to help, it's just shutting off the tanks. And by the time they get here from Cal Warren, which is designed for people outside of your area to get there, it's done. And then if they roll in with the equipment, there's the crew here to work with them.
Right. So I think the smarter thing would be, because the one thing they talked about that was really interesting that I didn't know is that they could actually like helicopter in diesel fuel or something, like if we had no fuel to
run the generator.
run something we needed to
It's
run.
designed for anybody with a resource that could share it, and then you
Right.
pay for it after the fact. So you would pay for the helicopter and the diesel and all of that, which is good, which is fine, but that's how it's designed. When I signed up for it, I asked what kind of special requirements and things did they need, and not one time did they say, we need all this extra stuff. They said, you sign the agreement, if you could send somebody, just a easy way to establish that everybody would be paid back for their services.
Right. This came from the workshop. So when I can't think of her name. It's
Susan, Sandra?
Sandra
No,
Right?
Sandra.
from Krista.
Oh, Sandy.
Sandy.
Who's got a big agenda tonight?
Okay, so I'm sorry. So one more thing. So when Sandy, that came from the Cal One workshop. So that I have some issues with, and we can put that on the agenda for next month. I think we should continue to talk about emergency
It's on
prep.
on the
So
agenda,
and that's basically it. The only other thing was well, I can talk about because it's later in the agenda.
Emergencies later in the agenda.
Okay, so that's.
Can I ask a favor real quick?
Yes.
Can we revisit my manager's report just for a minute?
Do I hear any objections?
Local citizen.
Good morning, everybody. It's almost 6 o'clock. It's 29 degrees out, and this is our Valiant Water Company out here fixing yet another leak in this freezing cold. Talked to the guys. They said they've been working since 5 o'clock yesterday in this freezing cold. I mean, seriously. Many thumbs up. Thank you, guys.
That's all. I just wanted to play that. For
Nice.
That was from a
Good.
local contractor, Julie Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Seen
Oh, I
him.
recognize that voice.
So
Yeah, we had a leak on, it was on Saturday and
they went out like at 5 at night, I think.
yeah, and they were on until like 8 o'clock the next
Because
morning.
it went to 2 when that one, and then another one blew down on Johnson. But anyway, I thought that was nice to get some positive feedback from somebody. So
Yes.
So, and then just on the ad hoc reports, the Sigma, as far as the Tahone, Castic, and Lebec meeting, it's not until February, correct?
Right.
So it's quarterly now. So I'll be trying to attend that in February as long as I can find out when it is.
I will make sure Jessica notifies.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now,
Do I hear some
I-
to
well, we need,
financial businesses?
I think we need to make a motion.
Yeah, because of
Yeah.
Linda. Actually, I have one more thing on the ad hoc reports for next.
Mm-hmm.
If you could make a note to add to the agenda that the ad hoc for which we need to get together, so maybe that'll force us to get together, the ad hoc dealing with the, what's it called? The
Oh, the asset list?
assets and
Oh
depreciation.
yeah,
Okay.
the fun part. I make a motion that we move number 12, discussion vote on service contract Lake of the Woods,
Forward.
forward after number 8.
Our bookkeeper here, so if she's not yet here, then we would continue with number 10 and continue on the agenda until she does show up.
I'm amenable to that friendly amendment.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 0500. Okay, number 12. Discussion and vote on service contract with Lake of the Woods Municipal Water Company.
did you guys reach a decision on a rough decision on your situation?
Yeah, we're still pursuing this as our number one solution, or at least we wanna see if we can come to an agreement with you guys first. And then tomorrow, we're going to make a final decision.
Cool. I went out to Lake of the Woods, me and the crew, and we looked at some of the stuff out there, the wells and everything, and Austin showed us around, showed us the blending plant and everything, and he wanted me to put together roughly what it would cost to do like after hours repairs. So I started to do that, and I realized that I couldn't really do it without your guys' help, because I figured out it's not only a dollar amount for the guys. There's other factors that come into play, like workman's comp,
Overhead, absolutely.
all that overhead, as well as the perception of the public. We need to ensure that they, beyond a shadow of a doubt, they're not paying for any of it. So it has to be a dollar amount enough to where it shows more than, rather than just a break-even point. Because I think it could end up being a real, somebody else brought it up to me yesterday, that the perception in town could be pretty severe.
Perception of what?
Us sharing our
If they
crew.
think they're paying for maintenance on Lake
Yeah,
of the Woods.
if our crew is on the clock and we're running out there, or they're saying you need all this stuff done, but so how can you use your crew? Was the topic, was the sentence he said. He said, hey, if you got so much to do around here, how can you take care of another water district? Are you going to hire more guys? So then that topic came up. Well, if another guy to help try to spread it out, then it's not just a dollar amount. It's also insurance.
But that might be the easiest way to try to get an amount, would be to actually have someone who is designated as that. You know, they might.
Well, there could be just one designated person doing it, really. I mean, I suppose we could, but then you're going to be paying more because you got to get somebody that's really experienced. Otherwise, you would designate our lead operator
Right.
to do that, and then I would still have to oversee the whole situation, because the only way it works is with my certifications. So I need to be hands-on out there
For the blending.
with that part, with the blending part, because that was part of their problem, from what I understand before. They need somebody that's certified, that's hands-on, not just a guy calling me up and saying, hey, this is what's going on, you know, what do you want me to do? Oh, adjust that valve a quarter turn, you know, you need some.
Yeah, in the field.
So I just left off the dollar amount and just thought I would point out some of the things that were brought up to me and let you guys figure that out.
And that obviously isn't sufficient, because if there's an old water line that breaks, you're gonna have 2 or 3 guys out there working.
The way I read this, it's in the daytime hours, correct? In that paragraph, on page 1, all inspection services for the installation. Inspection services and stuff like that would be done during the workday, so. So
that's part of.
That's not emergency.
So that amount would be covered even if we had the 3 guys as far as wage reimbursement,
Right.
not workman's comp and stuff like that. If they go out there and they get injured or something, you know, ultimately we got to cover that through our workman's comp and stuff. So.
Well, I have a question. Who's this Golden Empire Water to start with?
I wanted to clarify on that because we provided you this proposal as an example.
Okay, so this
'Cause we're
isn't
looking
your
at-
proposal.
No, this is not our proposal to you. This was an example for you guys to look at.
And I appreciate that, because it's better than trying to recreate the wheel from scratch.
Exactly,
Because
that was our thinking.
Because time is of the essence, really. They need to, you guys as boards need to decide quickly so they could put this into play January, right? If possible.
Yeah, we would like to
Yeah,
put
if
something into
possible,
play
so.
in January. We have a contingency or 2
Right.
if we can't, but
So yeah, so this proposal could, I mean, it's just a rough outline, so.
and
Okay.
and these numbers are, I mean, these are just a background on this proposal. This is someone coming up from Bakersfield to do this. A 2-man operation. Both of them are certified with licenses like Johnny's and myself's.
The T1 or
T2.
T2.
T2, D2. He's a very skilled operator. If he was working at a utility, he'd be making a lot of money.
Right.
And so he's looking at it from that perspective. He's trying to recover his costs, his drive time. And so part of why I was thinking it might work better for both agencies is that you guys are a lot closer. And you have a range of operators. So if, you know, all we gotta do is shut off a meter, you know, someone's gonna be doing some plumbing improvements on their house and they just need their meter shut off. We don't need Johnny to come out.
Right.
So that's why I'm looking at this as a possible win-win is you guys have a wider range of resources than even this other company that we got a proposal from. And you're a lot closer.
It's really, that's a positive for Lake of the Woods, and a positive for everybody concerned is the learning to run the system, because we're in the middle of this annexation. This is, I think, an annual agreement. Me and Austin discussed it, and I'm a strong believer on, if you guys do reach some type of agreement, that we keep it on just a month-to-month basis for a while. So if it's not working out for either side, if something comes up and it's not working out, you know, we want to remain good neighbors at all times, and we wouldn't want any type of thing to hinder that. So rather than get locked into a long contract with something that we haven't ever done before, we need to keep it on a month to month.
And if there's unforeseen costs that way, we can adjust the terms of the contract
Exactly.
easily.
So you guys are okay with a month to month? You would still be okay with that?
I mean, well, I from my standpoint,
Basically, whatever contract we come up with the exception of money and stuff, is gonna benefit us. Because I just anticipate if somebody, you know, forfeits on the contract, it's gonna be us and not you. And that forfeiture will be, the date of the annexation is going to be whatever the surprise date is going to be. We can't say that it's going to be day happens, whether there's a contract between us or not, you're gonna be doing it.
It's just, you know, you never know, you know, if it ended up not working out because of personnel constraints or public opinion, outcry of public opinion, you would have to be a way to step out of it. But saying that, even without this agreement, you know, nobody would ever be in a lurch like, nope, we're not doing it, we're not gonna be there tomorrow. I mean, I've gone down and I've helped Krista when their operator was out to go down there and fix a chlorinator. We're all working together, we're not gonna just bail
Yeah.
without help, but there does need to, because I have no idea what's gonna happen out there in the district, in the public. You've seen a little of what we got earlier. So.
Which is why I think we need some way, and I'm not sure what it is, to somehow differentiate, like even if it takes us hiring, even if the employee we hire adds to this company and doesn't do anything over there because they're gonna be new and not understand how to do things, but if we're, you know, if we have someone else that's helping this system, because I foresee it, even though it appears to only be 16 hours a week, I think that could, I don't know. I don't know, I'm not sure what the solution is as far as being able to separate it somehow.
And that's one of the things that I would change. I wouldn't have a set hour amount. I would have a set what has to be done during the week. When you get a system really running well, you don't have to be there as much. When you first take over a system, it takes longer, it takes more than that. It could take more than 16 hours. Just in theory, or it could take less than 16
Just
hours.
to understand the system.
Some weeks it could take more. So you never really know that. You just got to know what has to be done to run the system the way we run ours. And nobody could fault the way we run ours. The only thing I see with trying to hire somebody else is that's still not going to negate negative concept and conception and perception in the community, because the only way that would work is if we hired somebody and they were on a different payroll. They would have to be hired like through Lake of the Woods, and that would negate the whole purpose of doing this. So that still isn't going to do it. The only way to do it is to come up with a dollar amount and be able to justify, this is what we're making, it costs less than this to provide the workers to do it, and we're doing it to improve the annexation down the road. That's the truth of the matter.
I mean,
that's what it needs to be.
That's also something that we could give that information to the paper.
Oh, absolutely.
And they could do an article on that saying that we've hired an individual, we've in a contract that we're getting paid to take care of the system. I mean,
yeah,
it's pretty simple.
Yeah, we'll try
it. I don't see that.
Yeah, we'll try that a lot.
How many people read the paper?
Yeah, it's just, you know, a lot of people.
A
lot of people may read the paper, but a lot of the arguments we got coming up like today has been thoroughly covered in nausea.
Yeah.
In the paper. They have tried everything they can, but I think it's just that once seeing Fraser Park trucks going out to Lake of the Woods often and spending time in Lake of the Woods during business hours,
yeah,
then the talk is going to start.
I've been accused of secretly shipping water in the middle of the night to Lake of the Woods.
Yes.
So if they're saying that stuff,
Yeah, who knows?
Do you guys have the ability to track your expenses like as if a contractor would?
yeah, that's what I think we'd have to do.
I mean, that's what I would expect, so that we could come to a definite financial agreement.
Well, I would obviously track, you know, man hours. That's the easy part.
Yeah.
I would like a part of the agreement, my own personal beliefs, that we don't deal with supplying parts unless one was necessary, because you didn't have to. I prefer to just be able to have you guys give you the list, you guys order it from wherever you're going to get it, have it stocked, so then we have to do your stuff, we pull it out of your stock.
Yeah.
When we do our stuff here, we pull it out of our stock. So that simplifies the bookkeeping immensely.
Yeah,
and the equipment, there's a backhoe out there already.
Or you replace it. If we borrow one of your parts, you replace it.
Yeah, we do that already. You know, we've done that with the other water companies.
And same thing with our testing and
we
all
use
that stuff.
We would use your backhoe.
Yeah, because the testing would come straight out of your budget. So basically, you'd still be maintaining things the way that you currently do them, it's just that we would be the contractor.
Right.
The manpower.
Yeah.
Plus we need to find out if JPIA would be covering our guys, or if Lake of the Woods would be covering our.
I think they'd
crew.
have to cover because it's I'm not sure.
You know, for workman's comp, you know, stuff like that, if they were to get injured.
If they got paid from a
Who's
paycheck from
responsible?
our water company, then
Then we cover
we'd
them.
be covering, yeah.
So if they're paying us directly and we're paying them,
Okay,
There was one thing that we mentioned, we had a meeting the night before last, has to call in, say Santana, because if he doesn't, we can't wait, 2, 3, 4 days until
Yeah.
we take care of it. So that's also something that might require a little closer observation.
Yeah, because in years past, we always went to Santana for a lot of stuff, and then I kind of cut most of that out. We've only called them twice in years, but for water stuff. But if we had a leak and Lake of the Woods had a leak at the same time, obviously our crew's going to have to prioritize which one's going to get fixed first, and in that case, it would just be an automatic to call.
That's not exactly what I was talking about. What I was
Santana.
talking about was it was going to be your man spending our money.
Oh yeah.
And there might be, we certainly don't want to get into a quarrel about something like that.
Yeah, no.
So we should have some way of.
Well, I think something like that, I don't think we would be doing the call out. I think that, I would be calling Pam and saying, look, for whatever reason, we can't get to it.
Mhm.
And she would be, or
Well,
you
and
guys would
most,
be
most
handling
of our
it.
leaks wait days
Yeah.
anyway. So
Yeah.
I mean, unless
Well, that's what I mean,
those
just
guys
that-
are coming out of the ground, that's
Yeah.
not going to be a real. Unless there's 2 geysers coming out of the
Yeah,
ground,
'cause
it's not going to be an issue.
Everything's gonna have to be would have to be coordinated through Lake of the Woods office anyway.
Yeah.
And any expenditure of money, as far as that goes, would have to be coordinated with you guys. That's why I like the parts and everything too, because I don't want to go buy a part and then you go, what do you mean you bought a 20-inch clamp? It's better to have you guys already have your stuff, and then there's no discrepancy on cost or anything.
Director Schoenberg.
So for something like an emergency, let's say all our guys were available and you had an emergency and we were able to send our people over there and they did the same thing they would do here to fix a leak. But like those overtime hours and stuff, that would have to be, we'd have to figure out,
Time and
you
material.
guys pay, time and
Yeah.
material.
Yeah,
is
and that's
separate.
and I mean
The
that's even
material
in
would be
this.
there.
It's he sets it at $75 an hour. That's just what works for his company
Right.
because it's just him and maybe his son. And so yeah, I have no problem with time and materials, and an emergency is an emergency. That's what happens with the water company. You get it fixed, whether it's costs you $100 or
Well, that was my point. My point on that is in the contract that we'd have to state something that you would take care of the overtime for however many individuals. If we sent 2 guys up there in an emergency at 12 o'clock at night and they're working, all night, that.
Well, it's
that-
easy to
that-
figure that out because it's never, if it's enough to get people out in the middle of the night, unless it's a frozen pipe, but if it's a busted main line,
Right.
you gotta get all your guys out because you need
Right.
traffic control.
But that
all and stuff, so that's easy to say.
so that caveat would have to be in the contract,
We can't name everything down there.
Right.
We expect to be flexible and cooperative, and after all, we're kind of sister water companies,
That's where the month to month would come in handy, and that's where, obviously Pam coordinating things, because she would have to, every morning fax over work orders and, dictate, spell out which ones she felt were of
Priority.
utmost concern, and then the other ones, do because that's what we do. Okay, well, these have to get done right now this
Well,
morning, the other stuff can get done in the next few days.
You gotta understand, we get a few work orders a month.
Yeah,
Not-
see, so that's
not-
easy.
We don't get hundreds.
Yeah,
so
we're,
that's easy.
we're not doing, how many work orders did you say you guys did this month?
188.
Yeah, we maybe did 5.
Yeah.
But we could also have a 3/4 ton pickup truck run over a hydrant, and it's 1:30 in the morning on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I don't see any problem with actually working all that stuff out. It's just coming up with the dollar amounts that make everybody comfortable.
Director Schoenberg.
I think what we'd have to do too for if we're actually gonna need to pay all of the work comp and all of that stuff, is we'd have to come up with some sort of percentage based on the amount of hours we think are a normal amount of hours per month, and then just take that percentage out for like one worker, and then if it was an emergency, it would come out maybe for all the workers. I don't know, based on the amount of time or something.
Because it would be based on actual money, on actual
Right.
payroll. You know, so if we went over, if our payroll got bigger, because then your workers' comp is based on actually what you paid out.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how we can separate it enough that if people do have issues with it, it's very clear that, that you're paying for our guys to do this stuff, they're paying for our guys to do
I
that
think if
stuff.
we left it fairly open-ended and it's a regular dollar amount, it's a set dollar amount for the basic operation.
Right.
Um,
That
And
is
if it- and
more than
whatever's
ample
above
to
that-
cover
that makes
the
it
normal.
really easy, because the day-to-day operation is no different than just extending our system out there, checking the tanks, checking the wells, chlorinating, stuff like that. So that's easy. Just, we could set a flat dollar amount for that. The only thing you really have to,
Including like a percentage, so that dollar amount would be
Yeah,
set based on
because
whatever the
because that dollar
percentage-
amount isn't necessarily going to be the amount of hours spent out there.
Right,
It's going to be a flat amount for
to
the
cover
8 to 5 or 6 to 5 or whatever it is out there in that system. After hours, you just have to come up with a dollar amount, and then you could leave it in the contract that since it's month to month, we don't know yet how it's going to really affect us. So then, it could be addressed at the next board meeting. Hey, look, this is why we had to work all this time. This is the difference, and this is the bill we got in the last one. And I think it could be worked out on a pretty friendly basis like that, as long as we did it as things come up.
I guess what I'm saying is just that whatever that dollar amount is, it just needs to be spelled out somehow so that someone from the community reading it understands that that's covering a portion of their work comp, a portion of this, a portion of that, so that they don't feel like they're paying, that, they can understand that money is coming from Lakewood Woods.
Yeah.
So that would be my only worry, is that it's just not, it could be a dollar amount, it just needs to somehow spell out in the contract what that entails.
It didn't come out of the Fraser Park pockets.
Yeah, plus all the
I mean,
financials and.
As I say, I'm very behind this. I think it's a really good idea. I think it's critical for us to start understanding the system, to know if we're even going to be able to handle, or what it's going to entail if and when we do annex them. So I think it's really good. My only thing is just making sure that, like I said, that we're covered in a way that we can explain to the community very clearly what's going on.
I think this agreement, when you're looking at it, I think the agreement, especially page 1, really spells out everything that I just said I would like to see. It's Lake of the Woods continues with all the bills, paying everybody, which is great. That's what resolves everything.
But
the dollar amount is, reasonable for assuming that it's 2 or 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Doing the stuff that needs to be done. Because let's face it, I know for a fact that when you're doing your job right, it's not going to require 3 full days a week out there. It's going to be going, checking things, making sure everything's fine, and if everything's fine, you're not going to be spending hours just standing there because the agreement's
There's
wrong.
also that there is, like this amount is good, but like I said, I'd like in the contract about emergencies, about being covered for that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's
Right.
that's the only thing you guys have to.
And then the other thing we have to think about, which could be renegotiated later, is because you're going to add some time when you finally get your meters in, because right now you're just doing a flat rate, so you don't have meter reading.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
there's gonna be the
our
smart
meter
meters.
reading is actually, we haven't decided this for sure, but it's probably gonna be done by the office manager. Pam can probably just drive the system in a matter of a half hour to an hour,
Okay.
and
Okay.
that's our meter reading.
If we had to manually read the meters, I wouldn't be so keen on this because our guys don't like reading meters.
Well, I thought you weren't getting full meter. You are getting a meter for every.
There are AMR meters that are in the ground right now. We have not gotten to the point in the project where we can decide if we can purchase the actual reading equipment yet. But meters in the ground as of
And 400 altogether, right?
I heard a rumor around town that somebody put a meter on a dead line.
Yes, we are. There is some locations where there's going to be a new main in the street as a later part of the project.
Oh, okay.
And so rather than putting meters on these backyard lines that are way undersized that we have to abandon,
right,
and then move the meter later, we're putting them out in front where
they're gonna be,
and those houses are going to continue to be flat rate until we get the main out front. Whether we change some people over to metered first, we haven't decided, but we're
okay. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Johnny, I have a question.
Sure.
We have 3 guys, and they work their 40 hours here. How are you going to say, okay, there's enough work here in Fraser Park, how are you going to then take and drop one over there for 16 hours?
Because again, for the average stuff, for one thing, since it's my certification, I'm going to be doing a lot of it. Not all of it, obviously. Digging holes and stuff, I don't have to.
He's got to do the blending.
But I need to be
Sign
hands-on, and
off on it.
Yeah.
It's like I've said all along. I think that since we are willing to annex them, we have to show that we are able to accomplish what we're going to do. And if it quickly turns out, or maybe right off the bat, I'll start looking for somebody. But I'm very particular about who I hire nowadays. But if we end up hiring somebody else, then we'll work out a way to where that just works. You guys have already approved 4 guys. We had a guy and then he left.
Right.
And I just haven't replaced him. So if I need to, I'll hire another guy.
And basically the way it's working is because they're paying a flat rate to the company, they're not paying an individual, then we really kind of maintain business as usual, use money to pay all the normal bills we would pay. We just need to make sure that the amount's enough to cover what it entails. So it could be whoever goes out there. It's not going to be just one person if we do it that way. It's going to be whoever is the person for that particular job at the moment. So it's just like they're an extension of this, and then that money is going to go in to pay all that stuff. We just have to track it well. So my only question is how we track the
now, do you do rounds on weekends, Austin?
At this point, but that's our own issue. But I've talked to the state and proposed an operations plan to them that entails 2 days a week, and they're good with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess to further clarify your question, the majority of time and the need for a big crew is emergency leaks, because you can't accomplish it with 1 or 2 guys. There's sometimes that we could get by with 2 guys here, but that's rare. But then when that happens, as soon as something happens, then you don't have enough guys for safety's sake and
Right.
traffic control and everything, which is why we have stuck with 3 for so many years. But
well, plus
I don't think their system is going to be that time consuming to where we can't squeeze them in.
Plus, I mean, we also have been, doing some groundwork when we've like up on East End. You put in some new piping when we had those leaks over there, and
well, all the pipe that we put in, with the exception of the mainline extension out here, it's been just replacing sections when we have no way to fix the leak. We're very good at doing that. We're good at making things happen. And most of the biggest time-consuming times happen after work hours, and it's probably going to be rare that it happens at the same time. And if it does, that's when we talked about Santana would be called in. So I don't see a big issue with that. Like I say, if it starts becoming too much of a time crunch, we just hire the 4th guy, and that's why the month to month, I think there's a lot of stuff to figure out, and we figure it out as we go, what we need.
And the other time-consuming thing is meter reading, but meter reading isn't really happening. And if they're doing their meter, I mean, they have either flat rate or
if they said Pam was going to be doing
the meter reading, that's not going to consume more.
The only thing that's going to take up time then, I don't know if Pam has got the time, but initially, it's like when they put in the electric meters, everybody believes that they're not correct, and then you're gonna have the people going back out and showing them, which is why we want smart meters to begin with. So you're still, initially, you're gonna have that time crunch where people gotta go out and show where the water went. But again, you know, we could spread that out amongst, you know, everybody.
Well, if I might, the critical thing for us is the T2 certification.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing to us.
Yeah, that's
The
basically
business
what they're
about the
buying.
meters, you know, we can stick somebody on a bicycle, you know, and go out and do the meters. That requires no certification.
Right.
The blending station does, and that's the critical thing for us. So,
Well, and that's
He's
why
our
we-
most expensive guy.
Yeah.
well, he's the guy. The reason he's the most expensive guy is that he has that T2 certificate.
So, another question. You're already split between doing managerial stuff and the whatever stuff we need here, and then split now there. Are you gonna have, because we don't have another person who has that certificate?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like I said, we've been working for what, 3 years now to annex them in. I mean, I better be able to do it. I mean, I don't see why. I've never found anything I can't do. I mean, it's not like
No, it's not, I'm not questioning whether.
no, I mean, it's
Your
really
ability.
a few minutes to do the adjustments and stuff. The maintenance part of it, Billy and the guys that are certified, they can go out and do that stuff, but they have to do that stuff under my license. But the actual adjustments and the verifying that it's working and being there, you know, multiple times a week, that's my responsibility. And I take that very serious. I've had people offer to do this before that were not a water company that I believed in, and I wouldn't let them. I won't let people use my certifications. I work too hard to get them. So I don't think, it's just a matter of coming up with the dollar amounts to make you guys feel comfortable.
So, and has Ernest, I mean, are we gonna run this contract by?
Well, of course I'd run it by Ernest. When this first came up, he said he didn't see a problem with it as long as we didn't provide more service to Lake of the Woods than we do to our own customers. He didn't see any problem with it. And you know, once the agreement gets done, then it would have to be forwarded to Ernest and to JPIA to see what everybody's take is on that and see where we stand. Which they're very proactive. They don't take very long to make decisions like that. We could get it to them on, you know, Monday in theory, and we would have it in a day or two, I'm sure.
JPIA or Ernest?
Well, both of them.
So we have Linda come up with the costs on this, figure that out?
I mean, you guys need to do the cost. I know dollar amounts of what everybody's making, and that's all you're deciding, that in the working with. Like I said, it should be included in here. You guys come up with a dollar amount for the hour wages, and then if it ends up being more, the next month, you can go to the board meeting, or they can come here and we can say, look, our workman's comp is increase that amount to cover that.
I have a question about the insurance, because insurance-wise, if we're working in another community with our trucks, does anyone know, because you are a JPIA person, are we covered in that community?
No, that would be something we'd have to ask them too.
All I know is that when I brought up the Cal Warren, which is kind of the same thing,
Right.
if we go, they said that if they'll cover us. The only thing that wouldn't be covered is if we loaned out our equipment without an operator. That was their one stipulation. If we wanted to loan out the generator and we didn't send a guy to run that generator and something happened to the generator, they wouldn't pay for it.
That makes sense.
They just want us with the equipment. But yeah, that's something that
We just need to double check on that, so we
Yeah.
need to make a note somewhere to our sensitivity to double check with JPIA to make sure that we're completely covered if we're doing that on a regular basis, not just on a.
even though we don't go through them for workman's comp.
Oh, you
I often
don't?
wonder
Oh,
why. No,
okay,
we go
well,
through a
then-
state fund for workman's comp, but they'd still have an idea.
And I have those figures if we need them.
Well, what we would need would be the percentage. We would have to come up with a percentage to tack into this amount that they're paying monthly. just sort of a, what we think a ballpark percentage would be of
As
the
if we
work
added
comp.
another person.
Not if we had another
No, or
person,
just our
because
Or just
with
what
our
the
guys,
percentage
because if
is,
so,
yeah.
our guy gets hurt working out in Lake of the Woods, it
Right.
needs to cover, like they need to be covering a portion of work
But are
comp
you
because
saying,
the town's
so,
gonna be unhappy if they're
let
covering.
me ask a question here. So you're saying 16 hours a week,
No.
Yeah, I can figure out
or
what,
are we gonna do a rate per hour and you're gonna keep track of the hours?
No, that's what I said. You would come up with a flat amount, the day-to-day operations of it.
Right.
Not per hour or any of that stuff.
Right.
To
It would be
operate
a
their
monthly
system.
amount.
Like he has here,
He has-
3,900, like
has
he has here,
$3,900.
$3,900.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that is what I'm saying. a
Which
flat
covers
amount.
workman comp and the
And-
cost
and
of our
that-
men.
And that would cover,
But what
all
happens
that.
if for some reason we go over the 16 hours? Is that $75?
no, I'm saying we shouldn't have a set 16 hours. It should be 30. You have to be there. You can't not be there to operate the system. The dollar amount that's important is the after hours, when it's not the day-to-day operations.
Right. But what I'm saying is, he's saying it only takes 16 hours a week. How do we know that it's only going to take 16 hours a week?
We don't.
So
And it's
Well,
gonna
because
take
I went out
them
and
to-
looked, because I went out and I looked at the system and I know.
I'm just asking.
No,
questions
that's what I'm
here,
saying. I
you
went
know.
out and I looked at the
Track it.
system.
Once we're going, so it,
Yeah.
And that was just in general. Like Austin's got a good handle on the situation right now, the way it's operating and stuff. But unlike
Because
other people, he's
been doing.
going to teach us how to even do the blending and do the maintenance on that stuff. It's not a problem. So there's not much mystery in what it takes to do the thing. If it's 5 or 10 work orders a month, that's a walk in the. It's not going to take 30 hours to
Right.
do that.
Okay.
The only time that it is an unknown for everybody is the after hours stuff. That's the main thing that you got to come up with a dollar amount for.
And what is it? I mean, can we ask what the actual amount is that you're currently paying the operator that comes
He's
up
our
from?
employee, so it's not gonna be the same as you,
As a
because you're not our
contractor.
employee,
Right.
you're more like a contractor.
So he's not a contract, he's actually an employee.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, the amount that we kind of were hoping to shoot for the first month, to then, be reevaluated was $3,000 a month. That's what we were hoping we could start off as a talking point.
That's the day-to-day.
That's the base rate,
Okay.
and if there's extras, well,
And then the after hours and all that, you just bill us time and material, and once you guys figure that number out and you're able to give us your proposal that says, that actually outlines those costs, I mean, just give it to us. I mean, those costs are those costs. I mean, we're not gonna argue with you about that.
Wise for working outside of the limits of our, if there's anything that says within Fraser
Yeah,
Park
Yeah.
or whatever.
At $3,000, that would cover for the day-to-day operations of it. It would cover the guys and any increase that I foresee.
But we have to still look at the workman's comp that
And-
covers that.
I come up, if I had all 3 guys working for 30 hours a week, it comes out to about $1,500. So if it's 3,000, that gives us an extra $1,500 a month to cover cost of insurance.
Yeah, because remember, we're paying per person about $1,000 a month, a little over $1,000 a month per person.
Oh, that's true. We're
Insurance.
actually paying like $1,400. I overshot it by twice what I anticipate needing to be out there. So, just as a ballpark figure, that's about what I think for 30 hours would be about $1,500. So if you doubled that, that should cover extra cost as far as that goes. Because we got
So for base rate, for gas, for all that.
well, and that's not figuring in my percentage of my time and my wage. I'm just figuring the guys. Because I'm
Well, but
But
you're
you
the one,
wouldn't
but you're the
really
one
have
that's,
to figure the
you're the
guys.
one that's gonna be out there, so.
Yeah, it would mostly, I
So
mean, it
you-
would be a percentage of your time too, because we're obviously the times that we would be using all 3 guys, it would be time and materials because it would be an emergency.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, 2 hour minimum,
Right.
double time after 10,
And they
or
and they
time and a half after 10, and then double time after 12.
I mean, I think what we're gonna have to do is we're probably gonna have to do it like you said, month to month. We can kind of see, are we losing or are we, you know, and then we're gonna have to adjust it based on.
And really, once Johnny
We can
learns
do
it,
that.
it's right now I'm doing it with, I mean, maybe 2 hours a week. I go into the sites and check the sites once or twice a week, and then, you know, I sit at home on the computer for probably an hour a week. That's and you know, fill out the spreadsheets and make sure all the numbers come out right, and that's it.
Okay. And then you still had the guy doing everything else. The
Yeah, I mean,
guy
he's
was
doing all the, I'm just doing the treatment
Right.
side, the part that Johnny would be
Right.
most responsible for. I mean, he's still responsible for, you know, everything else at that point too, but it's the part that would actually involve his time is only a couple hours a week.
So I don't know how we proceed exactly. I'd like to make a motion if we're ready for it to do this, but then I think we still need to run it by a lawyer, run it, you know, agree on the money amount and all that. So I think, and we probably have to have another meeting, because if they need to be going by January 1st, we need to have it all dialed in by before January 1st, and that doesn't leave us a lot of time. So I think we probably.
If you got any with Christmas rolling,
It's the most
gonna be
convenient
tough.
time for us.
Sure.
But it's not a drop dead date.
But I think what we might want to do is have one meeting that.
Is devoted a special meeting for that?
Yeah, but then.
Gotta figure that in.
Yeah, we have to, like, everything we do like that, we have to figure in, because we're
That's
taking the
spending-
town's money right now for
Yeah.
that special meeting, which they're gonna go like, why are you using our money to, even though we have to do that too to figure out annexation, but we haven't done the annexation yet, so it's a little tricky. So, but I think we should have a special meeting that we would call Ernest and just flesh out the contract and make sure everything's fine.
That would be, if we did that, that'd be on the 27th of December.
Oh, my birthday present? How nice.
When's your birthday?
The 27th of December.
Well, we could have a cake here for you.
I kind of was thinking I was gonna do something else.
we really need this agreement in a changeable format, like Word or something. I would imagine Pam's probably go get it typing up.
Because I think what we're gonna have to do is have a meeting where we go over that with Ernest and then make whatever changes he suggests
Or
and
you-
dial it in and vote on it. And
Are you suggesting using this Golden Empire water
As
proposal?
a basic format, yeah.
Okay.
oh, I was
I mean, I
I was
can
suggesting
scan
using
this
your
and,
proposal,
that'll
but
be-
Oh, I didn't
fixing
even look.
the Lake of
actually,
the
that's
Woods
the one I was just
proposal. Yeah.
Yeah, the Lake of the Woods is probably even better.
Yeah, I was suggesting using this, but I think we're gonna have to add. We're gonna have to make some changes.
I think I would probably go through it line by line, Monday morning, and make the corrections I feel are the most pertinent, and then I would forward it to Austin and the attorney as a rough starting point, so we can kind of flesh out some of it before you guys have to sit down, because then it going back, we just want to make sure that it's, preferably everything would be all lined up to your guys' satisfaction. In the meantime, you guys could even create an ad hoc.
Okay, so
You guys
what
love ad hocs.
I think we need to do. Yeah, we love ad hocs. I'm not loving them right now. I think we need to do it in 2 parts. Like, I would like to make a motion. I would like to move that we agree to work with Lake of the Woods as a sort of contract employee. So I'd like to agree in principle on this, but then we need to flesh everything out within this month.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody
So-
opposed?
And then
5-0.
yeah. So, and then I'd like to get a date
Motion carried.
that we meet
Motion carried.
to actually have a contract that's approved by the lawyer and everything that we're good with, and discuss just this. If there's anything else that comes up, we can all think about it, but can we get a date?
I know you guys don't want an ad hoc again, but I would recommend, an ad hoc that could be included in the emails with Ernest. So then, the ad hoc can have a lot of the stuff fleshed out ahead of time through emails and everything before that meeting you guys set.
Yeah, because I was just thinking if we do it the 27th, is anybody, I mean,
I'm
Ernest
sure
or
our attorney's
JPIA
gonna
gonna
be
be
out
around?
until,
Yeah, so that's why I asked if January was flexible.
The 7th, I
Because
don't know if I'm gonna be around.
Well, that would have been our normal meeting time.
December 27th.
7th, yeah, that would have been the
Normal for what?
A-
I mean,
annexation
our
meeting.
normal
Annexation.
annexation, our
Section, yeah,
fourth.
second.
yeah,
But
the
we
second.
haven't having those.
No, we haven't.
No,
but that
but-
would have been it.
I'm okay with the 27th if Ernest is gonna be, I mean, if that's a date that works for everybody.
It works for me.
sure, we'll have birthday cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I'll be around.
Are you guys gonna be around December 27th?
I'll make myself around.
Even though technically it's a
No,
regular
I would
meeting
I
day?
would do it as the regular
Okay.
annexation meeting, because it's actually kind of part and parcel of that, even though it's separate.
Preparation for it.
Yeah,
it's
I-
preparation
I don't
for
know,
the-
we need to ask Ernest if we can, or we probably need to ask if we can do that and get reimbursed for it, because otherwise the town's paying for it and we
We're
need
not
to
gonna be
figure
able to
it
get
out.
reimbursed from
No.
the state, I'll tell you that already, because it's not part
Oh,
of,
yeah.
it's not
It's
part
not
of the spec'd
physically
out,
part of the spec'd out stuff.
Right.
so they're not gonna reimburse.
The
for
only
that,
way
so
we'd be reimbursed would be through Lake of the Woods.
that would have to be part of the agreement that,
Well, we can figure that out in the cost when we're doing the cost.
yeah.
It's
Okay.
$500.
Yeah.
I mean,
Still call it regular annexation meeting because it's already a regular meeting date.
It's already a regular
Okay.
meeting date.
It costs you guys $500 a meeting?
$100
Yeah.
board member.
Wow.
And then plus the wages of the
Oh yeah, and
the assistant, so, cause she doesn't get a stipend or whatever you call it.
That's why on all the annexation, we were trying to get compensated back by the state or whoever. You know, we've tried to always roll, even on the USDA stuff, we've always tried to roll our meetings in as part of the grant, so where the town's not paying extra for us, you know, doing that stuff.
I'm reasonably certain that we could hash out a lot of stuff. The board needs to come up with some dollar amounts, but I think we could hash out the agreement to the point where it doesn't take a lot of time for them to do it with us in earnest. You know, then it's just corrections.
okay.
Okay, are we going
Well, we
to
moved
do
on the-
an ad hoc?
Well,
It's
yeah,
not
we
on
have
the
to form it,
agenda.
we can't, yeah.
Oh,
You can't, yeah,
okay, okay,
you can't vote to form a agenda, or ad hoc if it's not on the agenda.
okay. Okay, so I hear, okay,
You're hearing okay?
So, you could work with two board members informally, but it's not an ad hoc.
Yeah, just matter. I mean, you guys just won't, you know, initially be
I'm willing
agreed
to
to be
come
paid,
in.
but
I'm-
I'm just gonna include, cause legally I could include two of you anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll include two of you, whoever wants to raise your hand, I'll include two of you.
I
and
don't want to,
emails.
but I'll raise my hand.
Thank you. So just for our clarification on you know what we decide tomorrow at our meeting, can we take this as a measure of good faith that unless you guys get told something by your attorney, your insurance, that we can plan on not having another operator starting January 1st?
Correct.
Correct. Unless we can't come to an agreement on the amount, you know, I mean, we have to really sit down
I
and
think-
flesh out the numbers, you know,
I think we
physically,
can-
because like, we can't just say, well, we think it's enough. We've got to sit down and do some calculations before we can
Of course,
say
that's all goes-
that amount is.
Right,
It
but
all goes without
I
saying.
think if it's a month to month, we can also, as long as there's an agreement that we can adjust that and it's in the contract, so I think,
Yeah, we said that
I
already.
think we can do that.
Right.
And I think the only issue is really
I'm just
insurance
being
and stuff
clear.
like that, just to make sure
Director
that we're
Garcia.
covered for everything, and we
I
don't
know,
have to
I
buy
guess you-
additional, in which case you guys would have to do
Get
that.
that
No,
feeling.
that's fine. I just
Yeah.
wanted to
You okay?
So,
make
yes.
sure that we were all on the same page,
Yeah,
because
my-
I don't wanna go to a meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, the motion I made is that
Yeah, I
in
hear
principle,
you.
we're on the same page and we just need to flesh out the
Working
details.
this week.
Okay.
And
We
sign a
We're
contract.
looking at three options, and it would be courteous to be able to say to the other two options that,
See ya.
that this is almost a done deal.
Yeah, I mean, as far as our motion, we're doing it, we just need to flesh out
The
how to do
details,
it. And
yeah.
then, you know,
And
and then if
make
we.
sure it's legal. with
And then if
the-
we're 2 months in, because it's a month, you guys just need to understand that, like, if Johnny's like, there's no way, it's way more hours than I thought, I can't do it, then we'd have to figure out something else.
And we have a backup plan for, if this doesn't work out, we're gonna end up just going with this little one
Let's move on.
Yeah.
But we don't wanna have anybody hanging longer than they need to. It's-
Plus, like I said, I wouldn't leave you in a lurch even on a personal level, so.
We appreciate that.
Well, we thank you for your consideration.
Yeah, seriously, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's gonna help us too, if this thing ever happens, people know what we're doing,
Yeah.
if it ever happens.
Okay.
Moving right
Thanks.
along.
Okay, we go to.
Okay. So now we'll go back up to 9. Hello, Linda. Welcome.
Hi. Sorry, the other meeting, we were doing the officers and the audit report, so that took me a little longer than usual. Okay, first of all, let's start with the balances. Okay, the 4787.49. In the operating account, it's $240,652.52, which does not include the checks that we cut for this period, which run about 30,000.
But that does include, Director Nyman doing the transfer from the operating fund
Yes,
into the
he
emergency.
did all those
reserve.
Those were
transfers.
done at the beginning of December, so those
Well,
are
it
taken
included
care
all
of.
the November transfers, it
Right.
did not include the December
Oh.
2nd transfers.
Right.
So it's not including the.
Well,
that's
the
what I'm asking.
telemetry stuff is already moved.
Yeah, that was in November.
No,
That was done in
I'm
November.
not asking about the telemetry, I'm asking, does that include the transfer from the reserve? I thought it was 150,000.
Oh.
I'm
Yeah,
asking if it includes
We
it.
already did that. That's
Yeah.
already.
We did that in October.
Right. So, I
Didn't
mean,
we do another one?
we
last month?
we did one last month, but it was done in November.
I thought it was done in October.
Or
Anyway, whatever, it's included.
it's included in this. It was
Okay,
done already.
that's all I'm asking.
Okay, also, this period, one of the deposits expired. So,
Will serve the $200
Oh.
deposit.
yeah, that expired, the 6 months is up.
Okay.
So right now, we only have $200 in, or Jane, I don't know how to pronounce the name, and that expires on January 10th, 2019.
Okay, but the $200 we kept and it went into the,
That's what we're
it's
saying.
in the
So now-
correct spot now.
Well, that's what we asked her to do, yeah.
Balance, you'll see a balance on the balance sheet showing that payable, deposit payable, it's only at $200 now. So I'm letting you know that is going to expire in January 2019.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing is I've also been preparing to do the 1099s, which I'm going to be doing in January. So if any of you had any changes of address, I need to know that. Also, there was only one vendor, and Johnny, I gave you that note.
Yeah, how come you didn't just send that to Santana and ask him for the stuff?
You know, I would have, but before you had asked me that you would take care of those. But if you want me to, I can, no problem.
Well, I mean, people like Santana is just a repeat of the years past.
Yeah, we didn't have his on record,
I
so
think we have to have it somewhere. We would have to. He's been our we've hired him multiple times for
Ever.
20 years.
Yeah,
so
I
don't know
maybe
where
we
it's at,
didn't-
but
I don't know.
Yeah, I can get it. for you.
Yeah, but I can send
Oh,
it to
yeah,
him, I
I'll
have
get
no
it.
problem with that. So, I just doing it now so I can get it back in
Yeah.
time in January. So, based on what we have right now, there's no other expenses, but I'll be cutting checks again for the next meeting on the 27th. So if there's any bills then, so that couldn't change it, but right now we've got about 13 people that'll be getting people and companies getting 1099s. Okay,
Let's make sure when we do the 1099s that we refer back to last year's.
And
Yes.
do them
So
correctly.
we do them exactly the way they were done last year. So
yeah, they
yeah,
go
whatever,
on.
however, yeah.
Yeah,
We
for
got
the
two
directors.
last year.
Well,
One was
Remember
last
that?
year what happened, there was the other amounts that went for the reimbursement for the annexation and those special projects that we had.
They didn't all get included in, so
They
had to
didn't all get
correct it.
included because it was
Well,
a
I'm just
different
saying, we
section.
just need one.
Yeah, but this year we're not gonna have that, and I already checked those when I was looking at them. And so now I've confirmed that the figures that are showing there are correct, and there's no others to be included in there.
We still have some, and we still have some ad hoc, so you're sure you need to
All
just
the
make-
ad hocs are in there.
Okay.
And all
And,
all
we
the
had some
regular
annexation.
meetings, annexation meetings, we did have some.
Yeah.
But not that have been reimbursed, so those are all went through
the-
directors because we haven't put them in for reimbursement.
I'm sure that we've been reimbursed. within
I'm
last
sure we've
year.
been reimbursed for some from the very beginning of the year
I'll
too.
double check again, but
'Cause
I
we've
didn't
only
see it.
not been submitting stuff for the last few
Like
months.
few months.
Yeah.
I'll double check again.
Yeah, we just wanna make sure that they're, you know,
The right amounts,
Yeah,
because
but-
last year it was, mine was the wrong, some of ours
Mine
were
is
the
still
wrong
the wrong.
amount.
Yeah.
And,
Well, one of the things too that happened was some of you were reading them wrong. You were going by the date of the meetings. It doesn't go by the date of the meetings, it goes by the date of you get payment. So you don't get payment for December until January. So January, you get a check, and somebody was taking the
I was
wrong
doing that.
month.
I was doing that.
Yeah, taking the wrong month and saying, oh, I should have gotten more, but he didn't get that payment until the following month, and it happened to be one where he had ad hoc. So it
Well,
was
that'll count in this year's.
So,
Yes.
okay. So that's why it didn't add up. It was because he was looking at the dates of when they were earned, not when they were paid.
okay, and you're gonna make sure that we're being paid under the correct,
It goes under other, under your 1099.
very good,
that's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
yes. Cause I'm still reaping the
Right. And other
problem of it
vendors
being put under the
go
wrong
under
thing.
all the other vendors go under non-employee. Okay.
Okay.
Also, last time, you remember we had the fees, for the Association of Water Agencies, and we were wondering why it went up $700. They had not received the audit report, so now they have, and they've already advised us through an email that we're going to be getting a refund, because we already paid it because we didn't want it to be late. So we'll get a partial refund. Tiffany, I don't remember seeing the amount of the refund. Did they say?
Yeah, they did in the email.
I don't remember the amount.
$400 difference, somewhere like
I don't know, for some reason 500 comes to mind, but I don't remember if I read that or if it was just.
Well, we'll get the rightful refund
Yeah.
anyway, so
Yeah,
that's
so we're
good.
gonna get a refund on that.
I have a question.
And that
Dr.
was
Schomburg.
it for this one.
Okay, the State Board of Equalization, I'm just curious because these two checks are both for water rights fees from 7/1/18 through 6/30/19. They say exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
There's
they're
two
all
of
just,
them for two different amounts.
right, one's for 225, I think the other one's for 229.
Right, but why does it say the same thing? Water rights
They
fee
have
for
different accounts
7/1/18.
because I looked at that too, and I looked because same as you, so why are we having two? They're similar amounts. They're two different accounts, and I've looked, we've always paid two different accounts.
So it's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
And what is the RVS,
The billing computer at the front desk is a constant cost for us.
It's a what?
Because constant cost to use their service.
Oh, the
because
RSD?
RVS.
RVS, or-
Yeah.
oh, because we had to contact them
Well,
or
not,
something?
well, not just that, but you have to have it's like a service contract more or less with them, because they have to do all the updates. They,
So the readers too?
yeah,
Meter readers?
yeah.
But they do also like answer questions and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, like today we had the issue with the misread meter, and, you know, we had to call them, and, yeah. And then we get the annual fee, whenever that comes in, and that's for just having the luxury of having.
CarQuest?
That's Napa.
I understand what it is, but they have a physical address on there, but it's in Lebec. Doesn't they have to go to the post office and there's not a P.O. box on there?
No, some of the businesses don't have a P.O. box. The mail actually goes
well,
there.
you don't have the,
Check it.
Yeah.
We could not mail that one, I can just drop it off on Monday, or whoever wants to take it by, and then I'll ask them what their mailing address is,
Okay.
because we gotta get.
because they don't have it on their thing,
On their,
on their receipt.
Might have it.
They do have the address here,
Well, they have an address on that,
but they don't have the
but
P.O. box.
that was the actual invoice.
And
But that's not a like a bill from them. Usually they send like a company will send a bill, which also show the remit payment address.
And then what I did is I actually looked at that because before it was made out to Grapevine rather than CarQuest, and or Napa instead of CarQuest. So I looked at that and looked at the address, and the same address that I've sent the payments to previously.
Okay. Well, then we just need to get the Lebec thing on there.
Yeah. So
Zip code.
yeah, if you can sign the check, then Johnny will deliver it, and then I can, because he's going to go to them and.
Check
the mailing address.
1596.
What's that?
On the statement, or on the email statement, it says box 1596.
Okay.
Number 1596.
Yep, Lebec, California 93243.
93243. Okay. Gotcha.
And I'm just double checking, but I think on the statement for our accountants, it doesn't really break things down very well, and it looked like it was two different amounts. Like here it says
one for November.
Where's the second one?
It's attached to that. It's attached.
Oh. So can we just ask them for? I mean, were you okay with what this said?
I mean, I'm okay with it, but my question is that because they've just put, they don't show any kind of breakdown of what they did.
Yeah, they just
I
put a
will tell you
progress
that
billing.
this is a typical billing from auditors and attorneys like that, you know, where they tell you here's what they did, and they do. They have a paragraph saying what they did, and they do a flat amount.
Okay.
And that's how they've done it in the past
Okay,
for
but,
us.
and we're sure we're not going over the contract amount that we are paying them, whatever that contract.
Actually, I don't know what the contract amount, but so far we've only paid them $7,500. In previous years, we were in the 18,000.
We technically don't have a contracted amount. That's why it's varied in cost every year, because when there's more to do, it costs more. When it's less, it costs
Right.
less.
Okay.
And right now we're
I'm
at half of
just
what we
asking
paid
questions.
last year.
That's all right, no problem. Okay, any other questions, Lisa?
No, you checked. I didn't check all the stuff.
Yeah.
anything else, Linda?
No, that was it for me for this time.
I make a motion that we pay our bills.
I'll second that.
My name is Bill.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Carried, 500.
Unfortunately, the Lebec bill is not a part of that bill.
No.
Yeah.
We're not giving you anything, Bill. Oh,
These are the 3 signature ones.
okay.
There is one thing. I noticed that on the transfers,
I can sign them.
have you decided not to do those where they're automatic?
Well, I had put them in tonight already, automatic, you have them on your desk.
Oh, okay. I
So-
didn't see that.
so-
For
so-
January?
Can you
Yeah.
give me that
Okay.
thing so I can sign them?
Sure.
Because I noticed the December ones, it said 1 month only. so-
Right, you have ones that show it's repeating, double check to make sure it's the right amount, and if we need to adjust it, we can change it for,
And that will be in January when I get the 1099s from them.
right, so that payment will go in January, and if what we have put in there for the 3 months is different, you can figure it out and
Absolutely.
then correct the rest of the repeating ones. So,
God bless you.
okay.
It's 5 to 8. Do I hear a motion for us to extend our meeting?
No, that's not.
No, that's
Not
at 9
extending,
o'clock.
we
9
take a
o'clock.
break.
Take a
That's
break.
at 9 o'clock? Okay. Do we want to take a 5-minute break?
Yes, I make a motion that we take a break.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 It's gonna be a long meeting tonight.
What time?
8:55 or 7:55.
Okay, let me, don't do anything till I turn it back on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Appreciate your service.
Thank you.
mainly for anytime you're approaching the public, you
Yeah,
want to have
sure.
an ID card to show that you're
Ready?
really you.
That's up to you what you want to do.
Okay, 8:09, back from break. Thank you. Okay, on to number 10. Discussion and vote on district identification cards.
Speaking of
Johnny.
which,
Yeah, it's a complicated.
Actually, Tiffany did the research
Tiffany.
on it.
Okay. So the cost of a ID printing machine that comes with the ink and 100 plastic cards. So base level, cheaper machines about $600. They go up to 13 if you're looking for, but I think that's people who are printing thousands of IDs.
Yeah, we don't need
You know,
that.
it would take us a very long time, I think, to get through 100 cards.
Yeah, with every
So,
water company on the hill, so. Can
So
you
then we
print,
could-
like a watermark on them and stuff? On ID cards?
no, we'd have to have like a hologram laminate. So we'd have to laminate, get the pouches that may have like a hologram and then laminate over the IDs. You can't print, I mean, it would have to be a printable, ink printable security, something we put on there. It could be a barcode, we could do barcodes, but not like a hologram technology in the card, it's not.
Well, I mean, even if it's just a watermark in the background of the printing is better than nothing.
But
Right.
then if we can't do that and we have to do it as the laminate, then it doesn't necessarily make sense to spend the extra money for the plastic
Yeah,
type.
I agree.
And unless you could.
That was
buy
why
the
we were
plastic
gonna
with
spend
the
it.
machine.
Huh?
Unless
You would have to order the blanks with something like that on it, I guess, from someplace else.
If the blanks come with something like that, I mean, we're not
Yeah,
talking
that
credit
would be
card
my concern
technology.
too, because and if you try to laminate a, like a hologram, it would not be see-through.
No.
This is the ID card with the picture and thumbprint. They would not,
Oh, disaster service worker.
and they still would not allow.
Master disaster.
Well, it always depends on the CHP that you're
Yeah,
dealing with too, you know?
right, it depends on the officer you're
Yeah.
dealing with.
And what I would do is I would go down initially ahead of time and to talk to the, watch commander or something. But, I don't know, if we can't, if it's just a basic ID,
Then it
we might as well
makes,
just pay for getting it from somewhere else.
right, I agree.
Cause I think, the companies that I would order, cause I found a company where you create the IDs, then you order them and then they mail them to you, but they're doing their own. I believe if you want the holographic overlay, it might be a laminate overlay. Same thing, other than that, I mean,
And how much is
we
it
don't,
to do that, to order it?
with the holographic overlay, it's just $1 more a card.
No, I mean, for the whole card. What does
To
it cost to
order a
get a
card.
card? If you order a card, what does it
Oh,
cost?
I think about $10 a card.
Yeah, so.
So it makes much more sense to order them.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be cheaper to
Because
order 'em.
we could also just print out, I mean, if we're gonna do that, if we really felt we need, but why would we need that many? Yeah, it seems much smarter to just order them as a one-off thing, and then we can always order them again.
So that's just, me sitting down for 2 minutes. Rough example that I can do on the internet. Again, we can put any information in there we want, as many lines as we want. Of course, the more lines, the smaller the print, because
Right.
you just have to fit it in. But that's kind of, the basic, use the pictures that I already took of the board.
Show them
and
the
just blow
good,
up
show them
the
the good
headshot.
picture of me. Go back to that one. See?
Yeah.
Johnny was
There.
saying,
Right there.
gave me this example. That's got the multiple lines on there, so whatever information we want to put in the card. I think it's roughly $10 a card for all, whatever.
My concern that would be that it's a card that isn't easily accessible. It isn't easy for someone else to make.
Yeah.
So in order for it to be that, I mean, because anyone could just, I guess,
Well,
order it if
that's
we
just
get
a-
it from
yeah.
the company.
Absolutely honest, Johnny, we were even talking about people make credit cards.
Yeah.
I mean,
So there is no way to.
can you really
ensure
stop
that.
it? Because
Well, you can't stop it, but you can make it harder. That's why they have
Right,
the
right.
holographic your, you know,
You know,
driver's
people still get
license.
them at
Yeah, the
home
tweaker
printed.
probably isn't gonna pay $600, but that $600 machine doesn't give us any better security than ordering.
Then something that's not, but a logo's easy too, I don't know.
I say we try these because they're cheap enough to where we can get them, and if we decide they're not working at a later date, we could revisit it. We could always research a little more too and see if we could find, you know, another avenue. But like Tiffany said, the people that make a lot of IDs and companies that have security issues with that, they have the much more expensive machines in HR that print that kind of stuff. So. I don't know. I thought it was going to be pretty easy when the topic came up. I thought it was going to just be a no-brainer.
Yeah, because I know that my husband's, it all has a magnetic strip and all that on it.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do, the online printing companies can do barcodes, they can do magnetic strips, they can even do the kind that trigger you know, where you can open a door.
Entry key.
Yeah, they can make those, the remote access.
We definitely
but
don't want those.
no, we don't need that. Need all that, but.
Well, I would say if they can just make one that's a little complicated that the average person would have to like think about to order it, then that's probably.
Well, that would be our own design, right?
That would be a lot of our own design.
Yeah.
And we would just put something not noticeable to the average person glancing at the card that we would know to look at.
Right.
To confirm.
Like we could have a signature on each one or something like that, because you're ordering them individually, right? So we could have our individual actual signature.
You
on
can
it.
order them with signature. Yeah, that's just another addition. You can have on there signature blocks.
So on these cards, it's like a flat rate, or it's per line, charge per line.
It's not per line. The only thing that makes them cost more is each feature. So a magnetic strip would cost more, or the holographic overlay would cost, having a signature line, but it's minimal, and that $10 I quoted you is got a couple of those in there. I built that in there. So we're talking $11 maybe. If
So
you
we're
really
talking
pushed it.
probably $200 for all the cards as opposed to a $600 machine that's gonna give us less stuff.
I mean, 11. No, wait. 150 is way too much. It will never even cost that. But if you want ID pouches or clips,
Well,
or
I'm
lanyards,
saying
that's something
150
different.
for all the employees
For 11
plus
cards.
all the
11 cards. It's not going to even hit 150. I don't think.
That's
Okay,
So maybe I would say 150 would give us a big thing. But before you make the motion, I don't know if you want to talk about what information you want specifically on the cards.
Not yet. I want to
Okay.
move first that we get cards, and that the cards we get are ordered from a company and not that we're not going to use the machine.
Mm-hmm.
So
Director Schomburg.
I'd like to move that we adopt company ID cards for both the board and all the employees, that we not order the machine, and that we get them from a company where they can print them for us with a specific, you know, with some features that make it slightly harder to replicate.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then the details we can hash out, I guess. Do we need to hash them out right now?
I don't think, I mean, basically, I'm sure we can handle it. It obviously don't need our personal addresses on it. It just needs to have
No.
local government employee. I like that part. The emergency response employee would be fine, but it also needs, for board members, it needs to be like a critical response board member or something of that nature, to try to help you guys too, because if something, emergency's happening, you guys are critically necessary
If we have to get down here and
to
run
operate the water company
yeah.
during a fire or something. So it would be slightly different for an employee and a board member in the wording in that red spot. Wherever the red spot is. I mean,
And
we're not stuck
I
to
think
this.
it'd be nice to have some sort of like overlay where it has a signature and a holographic.
Yeah, I think definitely the hologram and some type of signature for sure. Just to, and it's not for anybody else, because nobody's going to get our card and act like us in this small town.
It's just
it ain't going to
look
benefit
as
nobody.
official as possible.
We just need it to look as official as possible.
I'd like to see the logo on there.
Oh no, I like her idea with the logo. I wasn't trying to change her idea, just,
Yeah.
it just needs to have that stuff. Or can you order them to the critical, worker, emergency worker, something of that nature could be on the backside.
I think it's
And
like
then-
$3 more to have a back printing.
And it's worth it, even if we had to do the extra.
And then if we're doing this, I'd like to propose, we can't put it, it would have to be an agenda item, but I'd like to propose like a monthly agenda item that deals with all of this emergency response, kind of emergency stuff. At some point we have to train, if you're gonna show us how to turn off stuff at the tanks, you know, I'd just like to see it carry over every month where we discuss.
Okay, on that topic, I would like to ask something too. I would like it, with us, I seen from talking to David, he's a very nice guy, but for our topic though, for us, I would like it to be our emergency needs, not the local water company's needs, any of that. We need to focus on our stuff because the local water company's needs are getting so big and grand. It's easier for us to focus on us and what we're gonna do in the emergency. Of course, you can obviously bring up extra stuff.
Right, I think if we don't know what we're doing, I mean, we have some stuff, but I would like to see us talk about it some more, and then if they can benefit from that, great, but, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
I'd like to know what emergency stuff we have.
Well, we have nothing. That's what I'm saying, we have nothing.
Point of
except for-
order.
Okay. So we had a motion, we had a second,
Didn't we vote on it? We voted on it. Didn't we?
okay, 5-0-0.
Oh, no,
No,
I guess we
say it.
didn't.
Go ahead and-
Crazy, we didn't vote.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0-0,
5-0-0.
motion carried. Okay. Discussion on resolution FP 2018 121-01, resolution for change of officers of the district authorized banking.
Again?
Rotating board positions is every
December.
Do you have to rotate them or can you
Yes.
just vote to not rotate them?
No, because we've played games with that too much. Not, unless we want to redo our bylaws and everything. But it's
Does that the bylaws say every year?
Yes.
So, right, so just at the time that you get to where you log into the bank, you rotate out of that position?
Well, you're able to do it for you're supposed to be able to do it for 2 years, so he's only done it for
A year.
a year.
Just a year.
Not even a year.
So we only have to address the 2 years?
Just a year, because we just
The only
started.
position that is specifically named to change once a
Is
year
the president.
The others,
But I did it for 2 years, remember?
Yeah,
Right.
because
Terry
I
did
know
it
Terry-
for 9, so-
Terry's only been doing it for a certain amount of months, right?
a year.
No,
Has
it's
it
been
been
a
a
year,
year? Oh,
yeah.
okay. So it's mandated that we
Rotate.
rotate the president, and we try to rotate. If you haven't been in the position only been in the position for a year, you can re-up for another year. At that point, then you're really supposed to rotate into a different position. And we're supposed to keep rotating so that one person with a lot of influence doesn't become the, if I was president all the time, I could be browbeating all of you. And that's not supposed to
Or
happen.
we wouldn't allow
More than you
that.
already do?
Yes!
We wouldn't allow that. So I guess I have to rotate. Who wants?
No, you don't have to rotate because you only done it for a year. So if you
Unless
want,
If you
want
wanted for another year, you could
you
request
can
to,
request
Or
to
unless you
stay
wanna
for another
rotate.
year.
Do you wanna rotate?
But we said president has.
She said
normally
that the
has to
president
rotate
has to
once a
rotate
year.
out.
president, so it has to.
Has to.
So I have
Because
to
the
rotate.
president can do up to 2 years. Wait, can you pull the resolution? It's
The 500 or the bylaw?
500.
Yeah.
It's probably 500 and the bylaws. The original resolution was back in the 90s. So the original resolution was because some people were doing president year after the company. So they
Here's the bylaw on my wall, and then I'll go print 500.
So the bylaws say, I'll read it. Where is it? Ad hoc. it on?
When it's done in a second, do you want to pull in the Zach one?
Am I crazy? I thought it was on
I
here.
thought it was too. I thought it was pretty close to the beginning.
It's
10
not
sheets.
specified in that first.
That's my office fishy.
Where is it?
Mascot.
He's our
Yes. He's if you on the web, he's there a lot.
He's on our website.
Yes, he's on our website.
My little funny addition. Here's 500.
I don't see it on here unless I'm crazy. It's supposed to be on our bylaws. Somehow it got dropped off or something.
Let me see the bylaws.
Yeah, but it's annually.
It says for one additional year. So it says the position of president of the board of directors may be renewed once for one additional year, bringing the maximum term to 2 calendar years total, providing the current president is nominated for an additional term and the board agrees by a majority vote. So if we all agree that it's okay to the position of president is not for any reason renewable beyond the 2-year term limit, which we've futzed around with and shouldn't. Because this was written back in when I very first got on the board. It was like 90 something. Greg was the president at the time. If the holder of the position of president terminates or resigns, rotation by seat number will stand unless the position is declined. So basically,
I don't see it in here.
yeah, it's not in there. It needs to be. I don't know how it dropped off. I could swear it used to be in there. Maybe I'm wrong. It should be in there. So we make note to self, Tiffany, that it's not in the bylaws.
Would it have to be if it's a resolution already? I mean, do we have to repeat the resolution in the bylaws?
Oh, this was passed on 2005.
2005.
Yeah.
So I'm wrong. 90s, 2005. I think it does because the bylaws are saying how we actually, and the bylaws are kind of all of these combined to say how we do things.
So make a note to add 500
yeah,
to
I
bylaws.
think we need to add it. It doesn't have to say 500. I mean, you could
The
say.
So let's get to the point. Do you want to serve another year?
That's fine.
Is
I'm willing.
Okay, so then we just need
So
to.
are we going to continue in all our positions? Is everybody in agreement that we continue in what positions
All
we
of
are?
us have only been in the position for a year right now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We all changed in December last year.
Right.
I'm okay with it. You got a lot on your plate. What do you think?
I'm okay with it.
So we just need a majority vote.
I can only be hung once.
Really?
In effigy, many times.
Yeah, because it even says in here, whereas the board of directors have agreed on a change of the bylaws. Okay, so it's normally rotated by seat number, so we don't need to rotate by seat number if we're all staying in the same position, but we do need to vote, and it needs to be a majority vote to renew her position for an additional year.
I make a motion that we renew the board president, Terry Kelly, for an additional, for the second year, and that we all remain in our positions for this second year, and we will rotate at the end of 2019.
Do I hear?
I second it.
All in
All
favor?
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Oh, sorry, I'm not.
Yeah, you didn't rotate.
Rotate.
You didn't rotate. He likes this job over here.
Okay, so if that's true, are there any other changes that we need to make per that resolution?
For this one?
For the,
Because then you don't need to do another resolution, I don't believe.
The only one you were asking was, if you remember, you brought up about who can cancel checks.
Yes.
So the only one on here is Linda. Where did I see that? Stop check is Linda on this. So just wanted to clarify.
the
Or a
accountant?
board member.
Accountant?
For the result that the following be authorized to stop check / payment, and that's Linda. Under the board members.
But we're already authorized.
You guys can do.
We can do everything.
Well, they can't. You can do everything as treasurer,
Make
and I can do
deposits.
everything as administrator.
Make
but
deposits, sign checks and drafts, make withdrawals, and
So,
gain access to
in
the
an,
box.
in an emergency, the treasurer. So I guess I was saying, should we state that on the resolution?
I
But in an
don't,
emergency,
I don't think it needs to because I can sign on to the account.
Yeah.
I mean,
And stop payment.
Yeah. Good.
So John, so you guys just need to know if we had a situation where she couldn't stop payment, then the next person would be. And I mean, we can add that
Believe
to it
me,
next
it's way
time.
easier to get hold of Brahma.
Yeah, so Brahma would be the
So,
next person
I'm
to
calling
stop
Brahma.
it, and then
call her.
I guess I would be the next person.
Yeah,
I mean, at some point,
Count on it.
I don't think we have to do it this year because it's possible to do, but I think it should probably get spelled out that it would be the treasurer would be the next person to do that, and then the administrator, because both of them have access to stop payment.
So we don't really need to do a resolution.
I don't
since
think we
nothing
need to
changed.
change it. No, it's such a headache. It'd be better if we don't have to for 1 year.
Okay,
So things are changed.
got that. Okay. Discussion and vote on changing office staff to a 410 work schedule.
This is we've been trying to get everything uploaded to the cloud, scanning things. We have there's too much stuff going on in the normal workday to accomplish that. So I want to put the girls, Tiffany and Cassandra, on 410s as well, for two reasons. One, they can come in for 2 hours before the office opens and do all of that stuff that they need to accomplish, the scanning and all that stuff. We still have file cabinets full of stuff that has to be scanned and categorized. Also, they need a full 40 hours.
Where are they working now?
They're working 4/8.
32?
32. And it's really affecting their livelihood too, because they're not getting a full.
Yeah, why weren't they working full
Because
40-hour weeks?
Because we closed the office 1 day a week, so
Why didn't they automatically go the same
Back
schedule
then, they
as the-
didn't want.
it wasn't
so much.
it wasn't it's critical at the time, and we weren't doing any of the extra stuff at the time, and now it's just become apparent that we want to get them minimum 40 hours a week and
No-brainer.
do that. So
Yeah, because Johnny had also talked to me about this, and what I'd suggested is it's some of the positions, and that's going to come up in another item, but some of the positions, that's a way to sort of also give a raise without giving a raise necessarily, because you're working more hours, and we can really use it.
actually not as much of a raise.
It's an extra day's worth of work.
It helps them. We don't have to worry about it as much.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like giving a raise without us actually
Extra
physically
8 hours.
changing.
Well,
the,
what do
It's
you
an extra 8 hours a
What do
week.
you work
Yeah,
now,
so it'll be
Tiffany?
40.
So personally, I normally do 8 to 2. When you originally had me be an employee, I was like, yeah, I need to leave at 2 because kids and running stuff around. So I do 8 to 2, unless I'm asked to cover Cassandra, I'll work till 5. There's a little bit of flexibility in that, I think.
Yeah, so she still won't be
so
getting
I'm allowed
a
to
solid
do
40
more.
all the time, but she has the ability to, and she can also come in early where her time isn't necessarily needed for the family like it is.
Well, what time would she be coming in?
6.
You'd be coming in at 6 in the morning?
Her and Cassandra would come in at 6.
So you would work 6 to 2.
Right, but it would allow them to be 6 to 8 without any people coming in, and which would also be
Right.
or 6 to 9 or 6
Don't
to
you
8?
need to get your
6
kids
to
off
8.
to school?
6 to 8.
I only have one I get off to school, but
Tiffany's
Okay.
different too. I allow a lot of flexibility with Tiffany because that's the agreement we made initially to get her in here. The main thing is just
Cassandra.
Cassandra and the ability to, if she wants to do it, she can do it.
And also Tiffany's a little different because she gets paid for this, you know, like she's here for these things, you know, so there's other hours that she's doing that are making up for hours, but really the front desk, it's a way of having the front desk person help with filing, doing all kinds of stuff.
So what does Cassandra work?
The same thing. She's coming in at 8 and leaves at 5. So
30.
she's,
Okay,
but
so
she's
she
only
works
Monday
8 to
through
5.
Thursdays.
Okay.
Somebody has a hand up.
Yes. Director Garcia.
I move we change the office staff to a 4-10 work schedule.
I would amend that to be that Tiffany.
With her options that she already has.
Right.
Fine.
Yeah, because I have the option to give any employee time off. So
I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
perfect. Thank you guys.
Motion carried, 500.
Pump. What's happening with the pump?
It's going to cost too much to buy a brand new pump. It's going to be $45,000 roughly.
45,000.
For the ones that we rent, for the ones that we need, but at this point we would be better off just to continue renting. It would take us, 50 months or 60 months to recoup, the rental cost to do it. So the only other alternative would be to buy a used one. So maybe buying a used pump might not be a bad idea, like it is for, say a backhoe. But so once I seen that cost, I thought it was more around 30, but the quote I got was 45,000. So I think we
Okay,
should
well-
pass
Well,
on
my
that.
issue with this, can I speak
Yes,
to
go.
this?
Go.
My issue is not just the cost of the rental, but when we have an emergency, someone has to call. Sometimes they have to actually go down and pick up. It takes like hours, and we've got people in the field that are sitting there that aren't able to get a handle on the water because the pumps
Yeah, the only
aren't
thing
able
is
to-
that I know that's stuck in your craw that they were there for so many hours, but that's only happened one time. The rest of the time, we do order the pumps, but there's many other things that we got to get going. It's not like we're just waiting for the pump. We got other things we got to accomplish.
No, I know, but like with the smaller pumps that we own, we're basically not. We can't even get ahead of it. Like
Sure.
until
Okay,
we
Director
have that pump.
Garcia.
That's true.
Director Garcia.
Thank you. I would like to ask Johnny to do some research and see what a used diesel pump would cost and bring that back to us so that we can have some intelligent conversation regarding
That makes sense,
the
yeah.
options of what we're. Your point is very well taken about the emergency situations, and we're like the center for
And
you
we're
know,
gonna have more now. 'cause
response.
We're gonna take
Yeah,
on Lake of the
absolutely.
Woods.
So I think that we have tabled it for the discussion for this
Yeah.
meeting and add it to the next regular
I-
meeting
Okay.
with some real numbers.
Okay.
And-
So that you can find, and you got that all that equipment trader, and I know you've got all those contacts and stuff. So
Yeah.
And
Director Felder.
even if the used is not, I mean, I'd like you to find out if the used is a good idea or a bad idea, but if the used is not a good idea, we may be able to recoup some of the money by having an operator go with it to someone else who's having trouble and maybe they can use
That's
it.
what I was just thinking.
Yeah,
we could
there's
rent it out.
there is absolutely nothing wrong with having that pump. I just thought that it would be too much. So by the next meeting, I'll have
Well-
the actual quote as
What
with
average cost when we do rent the pump?
costs us a couple $1,000s each time we rent it. I think typically we'll have to research that too. But
Yeah, have Linda give us some numbers on what we've spent.
my main
Just-
reason for wanting that, not to flog a dead horse, but my main reason for wanting that is not necessarily just a cost savings, but there's a lot of times that we really have to fight to keep somebody's home from being washed
Yeah,
out.
it's,
Right,
And
no,
if we have the pump,
no, the need is established.
No,
you don't
the
have to
need
go on
is
with
I
that.
mean, that's what I'm
Definitely.
saying, so that's why
the
it's not
need
really
is
the cost of
established.
pump cost.
I just would like to know the different costs so we can just take a look
Okay.
at it and
Yeah.
so have Linda like give what we've spent on on, you know, each time that we've done it, what's the average
I think
cost?
that's gonna be harder than just getting the rental cost.
Yeah,
I can
and-
just get the rental cost.
And I think it's
Yeah.
hard because I really do believe that we also have to add in, it may not be, you know, 8 hours or whatever like it was at one time, but we do need to add in the fact that we're not only endangering stuff, but we're wasting time because we're using smaller pumps that can't keep, that they're not
No,
efficient.
No, we understand that.
There's other
So
costs
that's
that are.
person hours.
We'll take that into
Okay.
consideration. I mean, that's, we
Okay,
already
let's
know.
quit flogging it, move on.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I just ask one question of Lebec since you guys are here? What do you guys own your own a large enough sump pump to,
No, we do not.
so you rent it usually if you have an
If we
issue?
need one, we'll rent.
Plus, I'll tell you the difference between us and most water companies.
We have more leaks.
We are very adept at fixing things with flowing water, so we don't have to issue boil notices and have water quality issues. A lot of companies simply make sure they get the shutdown before, which takes a lot longer than the 8 hours of waiting for a pump because you got to wait till everything drains. So we're kind of experts at fixing things with flowing water. That's why we need a pump more
Awesome.
than other people. Try on
Major kudos.
Well, thanks.
Yep. Good and fine.
Next.
Okay, discussion and vote on emergency preparedness, reverse 911 calls to customers, mountain community certs, local entity communications, etc. Okay, did you find out about the 911? Okay.
Yeah, I got a little bit of information. This isn't a decision because we don't have to do it till we need it, and it's always there for us. So PhoneVite is 5 cents a call, but you have to hand key the phone numbers you want to call. So the process would be, we need to figure out who we need to call. We go into RVS system, take the phone numbers out of RVS, plug them into PhoneVite manually, record a voice message, and then PhoneVite would then take that voice message and call whoever we wrote the numbers for. So I want to tell you, alternatively, because we have Transaction Warehouse, who's our online bill payment system, they're already connected into our RVS system. If we want Transaction Warehouse to do it, they're a little bit more. They're 20 cents a call instead of 5 cents a call. But you can populate the phone list from RVS, and you type out a message, and it's like a robot voice that reads the message. But if you can imagine, if we want to make a call to 1,300 customers, we'd have to type 1,300 numbers into PhoneVite and retrieve them one at a time out of RVS.
Plus, it's only $260 going the better route, and that saves us time of walking door to door a lot of time.
The rate code, so we want all residential customers, for example. So they're like, okay, and they'll pull every residential customer. And
Well, that doesn't replace boil notices, though.
Oh, no, it doesn't
No,
replace
no,
boil
this is
notices.
just
We're
a
talking
phone call.
about
Emergency
stuff. We
So
wouldn't use it
much
except
faster.
for emergency.
Right.
So we have it available because we're already with Transaction Warehouse. It's just
That's
something we
great.
But you could also use it for business, tell it only businesses, because then
You can
if
do
we
that
have
too.
a shutdown of a street or water, that majorly affects restaurants and the fire department and hall ambulance. So that would get the word out to them immediately, because normally I'm on the phone calling.
Director Schoenberg.
So I'd like to move on that part of 15 that we give, direct our manager and our assistant manager to, or manager's assistant to, should we have an emergency, to go ahead and implement the more automatic.
We gotta do the setup initially, don't we?
Yeah, I have to talk to him.
Okay.
Probably just initially signing up for that.
Cool.
And they only charge you for connected calls. So if nobody ever picks up or they're
Allow them to do that in the case of an emergency with the more expensive system.
Do I hear a
Easier.
second? Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Brahman ain't saying
Okay.
nothing.
Huh?
Said Brahman ain't saying nothing. He was sitting there.
Okay, the customers.
16.
What is customers?
No, that's reverse calls to customers.
Okay,
Next one's
okay.
Mountain Community.
Mountain Community Certs. Did you wanna, you already talked to Dave, you told us about what Dave had to say.
Yeah,
I was, cause we had talked about getting pallets of water and storing them, and I was saying that they had, sea trains that we could store it in.
Yeah, but see, we have sea trains that
See,
we would store
okay.
our own stuff. See, I'm
Okay,
opposed
that's what I'm saying.
to, I'm opposed to anything that we buy as a water company being anywhere else and out of our control, whether it's CERT or anybody else.
I
That's why I
agree.
said, for disaster preparedness, we have to act like we're an island
Yep,
and
that's what I was saying.
do our own thing, because it's not that costly and it's better.
Do we
And
have room?
cert-
Cause you were
Well-
talking
well,
about
the
finding
initial,
another.
the initial
another
thought
train.
was, spend the $3,000 on another sea train that's devoted solely for that, which is not that much when you're considering emergency response, because you guys were talking about, and I
Blanket.
agree, doing stuff like water, maybe some food, enough to sustain the board and their families during a short-term evacuation thing. You'd have to have that in there.
Because we may have to come here, whoever could come here, like let's say we have a big fire and we can come here. Who knows? We might not be able to come here, but if we could come here or go someplace else with some of those emergency supplies to keep the company running, then we'd want to do that. We'd want it for the employees.
Not anybody here is going to come here if they have to leave their family in danger. So
You'd have to
your family
bring
here.
whoever here, so it needs to be enough to sustain people to be able to run the
You
company.
ain't bringing no one. I'm not bringing no one.
Huh?
I'm bringing my dogs.
That's what I was. That's what I was thinking. I'm bringing my animals.
But yeah, so
I have extra crates just in case you guys.
items.
And since we have CERT on here, I just want to also bring up because
But
Bill
what-
was good enough. Well, before we go, Bill was good enough to have CERT come and talk to our other mountain, whatever we're calling it, the gathering of the local water companies, and basically CERT can't do anything until they're mandated, until they have to
That's
be
what
like.
I'm saying. So it's
And
it's a
you heard
non-entity.
that
It's a
heard
non-
that also. So unless the fire department deploys them, and then they're deployed to do exactly what the fire department tells, CERT is doing stuff, and we're able to coordinate with them too. That's great, but we need to be like
We're
he's saying, an
federal
island
agency. We need
unto
to be able to
ourselves.
operate.
We're the only public, we're the public utility up here, and we need to be able to.
But how are we gonna store? How much water are you gonna store?
Okay, again, just like I was saying, you're only
and it only stores for 6
Right, you
months.
have to- you have
and
to
how are you gonna
rotate.
rotate it? And where is the water gonna go?
Okay, my suggestion on that is, for one, you only have to worry about X amount of water for the board, the families, enough to pass out to immediate need people coming for a few days. If you get a pallet or two, that's maybe $500 every 6 months, roughly. And then when it gets ready to expire, we could do the good thing and donate it to the local sports teams or whatever before it expires.
Or the public.
And help them out with that, or the public. But there's a lot of kids and stuff, a lot of teams that are barely struggling. You could give it to the baseball and the soccer and the football or whatever.
Or you're actually paying this town's money, so you could just say each of you can pick up
Whatever you want to
pay
do,
for it.
however you want to do
Absolutely.
it, and then you just rotate. I don't know if it's only good for 6 months or not, but
That's what they say.
and there's other stuff. If you want to spend more money, they sell it at Ace. We'd get it somewhere else, but there's water that's guaranteed for 20 years, and it comes in a can. If you didn't
Yes.
want to actually use it till there was an emergency, you could spend more money and store the stuff that's long-term storage. So, but when we get ready to vote on that kind of stuff, you would just direct me on what you want to price and make your decision at that time. If you want to, we got to at least get something.
What I was suggesting for especially here, but possibly
Oh, yeah,
in an
right.
earthquake, we'd not be able to get out of here, and if people lived, and well, there might be a fire during an earthquake too. Who knows? But anyway, just like some blankets or like very, those not
Space
the real, but
blankets.
space blankets.
Right.
Maybe fire blanket. Who knows? But we should come up with a list of things that would actually be applicable in that kind of situation. We might want to think about it some more, but.
And most stuff
Those
is
lists are available.
Huh?
Those lists are available.
Yeah.
stuff won't expire within our term here. It's only going to be the water that's going to really expire. So
You don't have to spend like tons of money on it, but enough to have. And, you know, if it's not something that's being used here, it can be used in coordination with CERT or in coordination with people if there is an emergency and it's not affecting us, but it's affecting, you know, people on that side or whatever, who knows.
Okay, we'll put that on the next
Okay.
next meeting.
And then part of that same thing was the communication too, which we had talked about.
Couple sat phones.
We have the radios, but we had talked about sat phones too.
Well, I've been saying for the last few years we need a sat phone, just for the simple fact of if we have to call the state or anybody else when everything's down, we gotta have a way to. And a radio isn't gonna do that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that Krista
yeah, they're not
Krista
that
said
expensive.
that, and you might want to ask Pam what they're paying, but I think they're paying like $20 a month for their sat phone.
But see, I also know that there's people like my brother that he just bought a sat phone. You purchase minutes, nothing. It costs a little bit for the sat phone. You have the minutes saved. You throw it in the safe, fireproof safe, and you wait until and you only use it because they're really expensive to use to call.
You have a fireproof safe here?
Yeah. Yeah, we bought that.
Cord to recharge the battery?
Huh?
With the cord to recharge the battery?
Yeah, that's you know get a little solar. You know they're cheap on Amazon. You get a little solar charger. So if if you're in a fix, you put it out in the sun and it charges.
I think we ought to get one or two.
And I always have batteries stored, so.
We have one here and one you going out doing inspection or whatever. I think we should get two.
Well, yeah, you need one so you can communicate.
So we need prices on that.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
So.
Good.
All right, cool.
Okay. Discussion and vote on adjusting the district wage table.
I'm sorry, before you go on, so that's gonna be just a carried over, sort of this
Yeah.
emergency prep, you're gonna carry it over.
I'm gonna carry it
But
over.
but we need to put discuss vote.
The specific items
Yeah.
I'll put also.
Yeah, so we can make decisions on those things. Okay, the next thing is our wage table, the beginning, starting wages and ending wages for everybody. It should change all the time. Last time we did it was 2015. Some of the ones that don't need to be adjusted, I feel, are field worker 2 and operator 1, because I think that's, except for minimum wage is gonna go up. There's discrepancy as to whether it's gonna be 10.50 or not, but, so I guess field worker 2 should start at 10.50 and then go up to 14. I'm good with those two.
That's what it
January
is.
1st, 2019 is 11.
It's not 11, it's only 11 if you have more workers.
Then
Because we're-
25.
10, isn't it?
Over
10?
25.
So field worker 1 and
I looked at-
2,
we gotta look it
is
up
that
because-
before their certification, Johnny?
Huh?
Or ones before they're.
Trainee is before they're doing anything else, or field worker 1.
What's field worker 2?
That's when you get a certification. January 1st, 2018.
But then what's it operator?
Employees with 25 or fewer employees is 10.50 right now,
Yeah.
currently.
Yeah,
So-
that's why January 1st.
So field worker 2 is D1 and operator 1 is D2?
Well, it's not really technically set like that. The only thing that's set in stone, depending on what I'm having them do, is their responsibility. Set in stone is the trainee, and the field worker 1 is trainee as well. So they can be, the field worker 1 trainee, that's when you start with no certifications. You can go to field worker 2 without a certification if you've shown that you know what you're doing and you can operate things, because they do stuff underneath our licenses even
Right.
when they don't have one.
As long as somebody's there.
Then when they get to operator 1, that's usually when they have 1 certification, or
Is
they
that
have
the
a lot. They usually get the D1 first, but if they're a D1 and they've been here for 3 years or 2 years and they really know their stuff, they're still going to be an operator 2. It's not reliant on, because these are just our classifications. It's just a way to pay them. I would like to bump everything basically up the high end to add $2 more. I'm not saying that we are giving everybody. So before you frown, I'm not saying we're going to give them that. I'm saying that.
Well, change the classification.
Yeah, we got to have the range. So when we do decide that we want to give somebody a raise, we're not coming back and recreating the wheel here again. Because one of the people here is already at the top of their pay scale, and there's nowhere to go.
And there's no one that's at the bottom range right
No.
now.
So the one that's at the top is the senior operator.
No, the one that's at the top is our administrative assistant to the general manager. It's topped out right there. And again, this is, I mean, it's always been more than what they've made. I just want to have this span.
Yeah.
Oh, we do that too.
That's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
have to
That's gonna be
change.
by law.
Yeah, that's what I realized. The,
Well,
the
it's,
bottom
yeah,
has
I mean,
to go up.
it is by, yeah, but the 11 isn't, the 11's still not gonna be,
I got it.
you do?
January 1st, 2019 for 25 or less is 11.
Yeah.
2020 is 12. 2021 is 13.
So all those at the bottom have to be just automatically to 11.
Yeah.
Right.
See,
To
and then,
start.
Changes up till 15.
yeah, and then when the minimum wage goes up, everybody's saying, well,
I thought it was 25
shit.
or more, so it's gonna
No,
be-
see, 25 or more,
Right now it's
January
11.
1st is $12.
Is 12, okay, so that's the one that's 11 right now.
So,
So what that's, so,
right, yeah,
so you're saying 25 or less is employees
Us.
is
us.
$11.
And then if you're only making, you know, $1 or $2 more than the minimum wage,
Yeah.
everybody feels like, well, shit, everybody else just got a raise. Why don't I get a raise? You know, I've been here for 2 years. How come I ain't
Well, it's
making
not
it?
just the time, it's the knowledge, you know
And,
that.
yeah, that's what I mean. So when they have the knowledge and they've been here for X amount of time, and then everybody else gets a raise except for them.
So I don't even think it should be 11 because I think if it's just a straight office position, that could be 11. But I think all these other positions are crazy to start at 11. Like they don't start at 11 anyway. We haven't started, you know, generally. Like the billing person.
What are you saying?
If,
You want it
I'm
at
saying if
12?
11's minimum wage, then the straight office person could be that, and a trainee could be that. But the other people should really be 12 as the bottom.
We don't even have an office position.
I know we don't right
it
now.
was
But
just like when we needed.
Yeah.
But when we've hired
Yeah.
somebody,
Yeah, so that's fine, like extra. But yeah, I
I'm
mean,
saying
I
that
agree.
would be 11 because it'd be minimum wage. If we ever hired somebody, it's just like somebody that would help. Like they're not even necessarily
They're
a
gonna come in
permanent
here and
position.
file.
It's like a
Yeah, but so I don't have a problem with that one being 11. But I kind of have a
But
problem.
believe me, we have still been hiring people on at wage. Logan came in at minimum wage. Sean came in at minimum wage. I came in at $8 an hour, minimum wage.
Well, that was a long
much.
time ago.
9 years ago. 9 years ago, 1,000 years ago. But
Well,
what I'm saying is that, you know, that's why we need to take that
I'm-
into account.
I'm
I like
sug-
the lower and the bottom
I'm
too.
suggesting that the only two positions that start at 11, since it's going to change in January, be the office and the field worker 1 trainee, and that all other positions start at a minimum of 12. Like some of them are past that, but the administrative assistant would never, if she left, we wouldn't hire somebody at 11. We'd hire them a little bit more because they'd have to know more.
I'd say the field worker 1 should also go up to 12 then. Because a lot of it's expected of a new guy that comes in, you know. 2 in the morning call outs and all that kind of stuff. So.
Because they're doing all that stuff.
Yeah, because they're doing all that stuff as a, you know, entry level, and it's easier to get somebody to hire. When the last couple times we tried to run an ad for people, we got 5 or 6 applicants, and 1 or 2 were totally unqualified. Back injuries and stuff like that showing up with a back brace.
So we're gonna make the office people 11 and then
everybody else 12.
Everybody else 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you
As
wanna
the
go-
bottom.
Okay.
So you
Unless
wanna-
they're already 13 or 16.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, some of them are already more than that. But.
So
Well, we have 1 guy that's at 13 right now with a certification.
But he just got bumped up to that.
Yeah,
so we
but what I'm
want
saying, so he'll basically be making $1 more than
an entry person.
an entry person for having a certification.
Okay.
well,
But anyway, we'll
This-
address that after,
well-
because that's what I'm saying. I'm not asking any.
Yeah, because-
all I want to do right now is set the wage scale.
And then
Well,
you're
maybe
saying bump all of the
Well, I
end ranges?
Yeah, the end range is a couple hours. doesn't cost us a penny. All it does is just establish the fact that later
Well,
on
if you're
you
gonna
get
start
approval.
field
Yeah,
work
but
one
I-
at
but I-
12, you're gonna have to.
I think,
It's a lot, yeah.
I don't think
Again,
it should be more than that. I mean, you've got the administrative assistant, yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that going to 19.
Okay,
Because
again,
she does more technical work and than what a billing person does
okay,
at
just,
the desk.
just listen to my theory here. For one thing, she's nowhere near that, or in the we can't even foresee that at this point. Second of all, you guys have to approve all raises anyway. But when you have somebody that knows, if I stick it out for the long haul, like Judy that was making 20-something bucks an hour, if I stick it out for the long haul,
Made 20.
yes, she did. She was making that when she passed away. Absolutely.
No, she took that. Okay.
Nope. But anyway, that's not even the point. The point is whether you ever give it to her or not, because you guys are the board that decides whether you ever give it to her or not. You can see where you have somewhere to go.
Yeah, it's a carrot. Absolutely.
It's just the carrot. Whether you guys decide to give it to her or not doesn't even matter at this point.
So then we could just have all of these like at 20, you know, I mean, at the,
No.
No, that doesn't.
because you're gonna,
Well, it doesn't.
Because this is gonna come up
accomplish
again.
anything.
It's like
well,
like,
yeah, we're gonna have to
wow,
do it
this
next year because next year in
The minimum
2020,
wage
they're
goes
gonna, minimum wage goes up again.
No, because, well, yeah, then we just
Then we
worry
wouldn't
about the
maybe
bottom
revisit
part.
it at the time. This
You
is
g-
just
you
what
guys
he's
don't
asking for now.
You guys you wouldn't even have to approve the bottom change because the law does. All I'm saying is if you bump it up $2 an hour, there's no worrying about it. You guys vote on the raises anyway.
I don't
Are you
have a
worried that
problem
when you
with
guys are gone, somebody else is going to vote and bump somebody up too high? It's just a number.
I don't think that they should all be equal. Whoever was saying that.
No, I think it should be just a couple bucks an hour on the top end.
I don't have a problem with
It's
that.
easy.
I'm good. What are you, Becky?
I'm good
With what?
with that.
With his recommendation. We're in a continuing conversation here. Are you not following it, or what?
I'm trying to get her to say something more.
Oh, okay. I missed your point. I'm sorry.
I wanna make sure she's not asleep over here.
So the bottom, we're saying what we already said. The only one that's 11 is the auto, and everything else would bump to 12. And the top, we're saying add $2 on the end of all of them, but it still comes to us for final approval.
Of course.
Always
you guys
has.
aren't voting on changing that.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with it.
But you had a problem with the range?
No.
Okay, well, field worker 1 couldn't go up 1, because if we're gonna start him out,
Field worker 1 would go from 12 to 14 instead of 10 to 11.
okay.
Field worker 2 would go from 12 to 16. Operator 1 would go from 12 still to 17. Operator 2, 13 to 19. Senior operator 16 to 24. Office 11 to 14.
What is our senior operator making right now?
Don't say it in open session.
Oh,
Can't say.
Thank you.
okay. Thank you.
I can say he's not.
Don't say it, Ronnie.
Don't, that's,
I wasn't
that's
going to say
enough.
how much.
Okay. So,
Just vote.
a
I've
motion?
had my hat on for a while.
Okay,
I'd like to move that we adopt the changes to the pay scale Johnny has brought to attention.
do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried, 500. Okay, okay, oral announcement. Prior to closed session, 54957.7A, a representative of the legislative body to orally announce the items to be discussed in closed session prior to the closed session meeting. 54954.5E, public employee performance evaluation, title billing front desk clerk, and
Can I ask a quick question? I know
Yes.
we already adjusted the agenda, but since we still have people here and they can't be in the closed session, do they want to be part of listening to the review and approval of minutes? or
No,
part
not
of the.
necessarily for
We can
fun.
leave if you'd rather go alone.
If you're gonna close,
Well, I'm just
Oh,
asking
yeah.
because we have open session stuff still after
yeah,
that.
it's the minutes and you're just checking.
Minutes and renewing the contract with the general manager and future agenda.
Why
We
not?
need to, make a motion to extend the meeting.
Take it easy, man.
I move, yeah, we're already over that. I move that we extend the meeting to finish business.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 500. At 9:05.
Can't I go with them?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Good night, guys. Thank you.
Now you can go back to your oral announcement.
Okay. 5495.4.5E, public employment title, general manager.
No, first we're doing the public employee, or the billing front desk clerk.
Right.
You just read that.
I just read that, so now we'll do on 17. Okay. Closed session. We gotta wait for
Say the time and then I turn everything off.
5:06. 9:06.
Okay, turn everything off.
Okay.
still?
They must have fallen
Yes.
asleep.
And this one.
Why does it say weak or no
Okay.
signal?
Oh, I closed the laptop.
Okay.
So we're back.
We're back and
So
we're
time back out of session.
out of session. 9:59. Out of closed session, the board took into account Johnny Ellison's recommendations, and we approved those.
And no motions were made.
No motions are needed.
No motions were made during
No,
the closed
no
session.
motions were made during the closed session. And vote to renew general manager's contract. Director Schoenberg.
So I'd like to move that we renew Johnny, our general manager's contract at the way it's written with the 2% COLA increase at the amount that's stated, taking into consideration that he's going to be, that he's done a very good job for the company and he's going to be doing even more, taking on more responsibility with Lake of the Woods and some of the other things that we're going to be doing.
I second that motion.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0-0. Motion
Good job.
carried. And I will be happy to sign your
Thank you, guys.
And then I would like to, on 19, are we on 19?
19.
I'd like to move that we table the minutes, even
Did
though
you
there
find
wasn't
any?
a lot that I found of anything, but can we table it till next time?
Till the 27th?
Till the 27th?
Yes.
Okay.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 5-0-0.
I
Discussion and vote on future agenda items.
She's got them all.
think we already pretty much, was there anything else that we need?
Yeah. Terry. Reminder, I sent you the email. Our Christmas lunch is the December 24th at, is it at, what time, John?
At noon.
So we can plan the food.
And in order to have plenty of food for everybody to bring their families if they want, we decided we're just gonna do carne asada tacos and this side stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
And
Is
we're
that hot?
bringing side stuff?
If
or-
people, no, I mean, the company's gonna buy them, cause you authorize $150, that'll be enough to buy the carne asada
I
and
need
the
some-
potato salad or
I
whatever.
need some chicken.
Oh, you need some chicken?
Yeah,
Okay,
some
I'll order
chicken.
chicken.
Yeah, I think
Is
one
that
I don't
hot?
do carne
chicken
asada.
curry.
Is it okay if we get
No
a, like,
problem.
boneless, cause the barbecue's good, 'cause
What's that?
Yeah, the
Okay, we
boneless
get
is
boneless.
much better than
Yeah,
barbecue's
yeah, that's,
easier.
that's fine.
chicken
Is it
doesn't
hot?
barbecue that well.
Yeah, we're gonna barbecue it. Oh, you mean spicy?
Yes.
No.
No, the carne asada stuff that we got the last time from a place down in Bakersfield, it's got spice to it, but it's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the chicken, but the chicken won't have you won't put any spice on the
Tiffany,
chicken.
I'll be there.
If you can eat chicken.
I'll be
I
there.
can
Just
eat
you.
chicken without barbecue
And
sauce.
I'll
Yeah,
be
we won't
there,
get
and it
anything on
should
this
be
week.
just me.
Unless I bring my dog.
Rama 31.
We'll be bringing animals.
Yeah, I'll be
Two?
bringing animals. No, one.
Just one.
My husband will not come.
Becky, can you make
No
it on
matter
the
what.
25th?
You ever do Christmas parties, or just not ours?
He does not.
Or just let me
This
know.
is my job.
Yeah, I don't know if I've
I
got,
get it.
I think I've got to work
And-
that day all day.
He doesn't go to where I work, and I don't
Okay,
go to work.
is, the only thing I would add,
That's-
okay.
that's cool.
Anything
It's
you
like
guys
Monday,
want?
right?
We can
Yes,
talk
a Monday.
after.
Yeah, I think
'cause it
I
has
do. I
nothing
think
to
I
do
do.
with-
Do you have to work on that day?
We
Yeah,
adjourned?
but I'm from home.
Almost.
So let's adjourn if we don't have anything else.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. At 10.